Last name Charles. We gonna talk about that. Let's see. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great Friday. We are about 2 weeks into the month of August. I mean, technically, you could say this is 2 weeks. It's Friday. It's the 15th. Shout out to everybody who got their direct deposit today. Shout out to everybody getting paid today. We are we are live on Rumble Studio. Shout yourselves out. Tell me where y'all checking in from. Tell me your locations as y'all are checking in. I'm looking forward to this live. I look forward to these live streams, folks. I look forward to the conversation. Yeah, I have my soliloquy that I do at the beginning, but I look forward to the exchange that happens afterwards. So I think this will be a good one. We're not talking about Donald Trump. Good news for those of you who don't want me to talk about Donald Trump. I know all y'all want me to talk about Donald Trump, but today we're not going to talk about Donald Trump. But I'm pretty sure, I guarantee, somebody's going to leave a comment and say talking about Donald Trump. But today, Donald Trump is not the topic, at least not on the surface. Shout yourselves out as y'all come in. Tell me your location. Tell me your location as y'all are checking in. We are live on Rumble Studio. Good morning, Rumble. Everything seems to be working. We are live on YouTube. Good morning. It says that we're live on X. Let me verify that. Go over to X and see if I can see myself live on X. And the live thing is the ring is on. And yes, we are live on X. Good morning, everybody over there on X. It says on X that there are 8 people watching. I can't tell, but usually a number goes up. Shout out to X. I can't tell what's happening on X. All I can see is it says we're live and I see a number, but I can't see anything else. On X, I can see a number. On Rumble Studio, I see nothing, but it says that we're live. We are live on Facebook. Yes, Facebook/Work on Your Game University. Those of you who are Facebook users, I'm there. Facebook/Work on Your Game University. That's the business page. We are live on LinkedIn. I never get any data from LinkedIn. So shout out to LinkedIn. If anybody's watching on LinkedIn, leave a comment so I know that somebody actually is there. I can't see anything on LinkedIn, so I have no idea what's going on. We are live on Instagram. That is verifiable. Now I'm on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. That's my name, DREBALDWIN. Dre Baldwin is my actual name. I think on TikTok it doesn't have my name. It says Work on Your Game. So that's my name. I'm live on Instagram. Make sure, those of you on TikTok, make sure you follow me on one of these other places that I just mentioned. Instagram, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Rumble. Make sure you follow me in at least one other place because some shenanigans have occurred on TikTok. All right, just in case I say the wrong thing that offends the wrong person, make sure you are following me in more than one place, TikTok users. So click the link in my profile. My Instagram is in there. My YouTube is in there. Make sure you're following at least one other thing just in case something happens on TikTok. I've been suspended here 15 times. That is not an exaggeration, 15 times. And I even got banned once for some nonsense. TikTok's AI bots said that I changed my link in my profile. I did change the link. It said you changed it to a link that has restricted content, so we banned your whole profile. Then I had to appeal. It took like 2 days, and I got it back. It was some nonsense. I changed it to like my email, like sign up for my email list. Their AI bots are doing a little bit too much. But now I think I've learned a lot about how to navigate the AI bots on TikTok, so we're in a good space. I haven't been suspended at all in the last 6 weeks. So we're in 6 weeks without suspension is actually a good thing on TikTok. I haven't even got a restriction in the last 6 weeks. So I'm on a streak right now. I'm on a great streak. So I shouldn't talk about this. It's kind of like a pitcher throwing a no-hitter in baseball. You don't talk about it in the middle of the game. You just act like it's not happening. So we are good on all these platforms. Insta gang, last name Charles says. Shout yourselves out. Tell me your locations. Today we're talking about the male cheerleaders in the NFL. Have y'all seen this? And I'm not talking about the male cheerleaders like the guys with the big muscles who lift the girls up in the air and they got the megaphones and they actually are with big muscles in their masculine. I'm talking about they got a different type of cheerleader. We're going to get into that here today. As y'all coming in, shout yourselves out. Last name Charles said it made you chuckle. Well, it keeps going for now, but we may be turning that tide. King Works 21 from Tuscaloosa. Shout out to Tuscaloosa. Shout out to the college towns. College towns are nice places to be, especially if you're a college student. College town is great. It's a great place to live up to a certain point, in my experience. Trucker J, good morning. Thank you for liking the live early. And #1 gifter badge up front. As y'all coming in, shout yourselves out, shout yourselves out, shout yourselves out. Murphy the Mutt checking in from Bristol, Tennessee. Marky Man 007, good morning. Richard Lawrence D. Hart, good morning, sir. CVN said Dre all day forever. Yes, that's right, Dre all day forever. DreAllDay.com still exists. We still got that website. Carol Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Jules checking in from California. California's a big place, Jules. Where in California are you? Richard is checking in from Elizabeth, New Jersey. I have been there. Shout out to Jersey. Jersey is in the house. Shout out to Philly, where I'm actually from. I am based in South Florida, but I'm from Philadelphia, so shout out to Jersey. Susie Q checking in from Connecticut. Trucker J finally home in San Antonio. All right, shout out to San Antonio, Texas. I've been to San Antonio a couple times. Shout out to San Antonio. Shout out to the Riverwalk. Riverwalk's a nice place to take a nice, how long is that thing, man? 3-4 miles, I think. If you walk all the way down and all the way back, it's a nice little walk, the Riverwalk. Some nice restaurants over there, too. Shout out to San Antonio. CVN, I see you. Good morning. Courtney, good morning. Shout your locations out as y'all come in. Ron Johnson, Lima, Ohio. Spicy Nurse said, don't jinx it. I don't think I'm a jinx today, actually, but I might. So let me not speak too soon. Michelle Steele from Hershey, PA. What's the, what's the name of that place? There's something in Hershey that I know about. I know it's the Hershey candies. A lot of people don't know that. The Hershey chocolate candies come from Hershey, Pennsylvania. So shout out to Hershey, Pennsylvania. But there's something else in Hershey that I can't remember what it is. Michelle, you might know. There's something in Hershey that people go there for besides the chocolate factory. I can't remember what it was. I don't remember. There's something else. CVN said Carolina Panthers. What does that mean? What's the significance of the Carolina Panthers? Shout yourselves out in the comments. I'm shouting a couple people out before we get started. Shell B from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Shout out to Palm Beach. Yeah, shout out to Palm Beach. Nikki, Connecticut. We got San Diego in the building. CVN 140.6. Walnut Creek, California. Michelle, Nashville, Tennessee. Connecticut. ATM Tone said YGZ. Where is that? That one I don't know. Is that Canada? Where's YGZ? Reynoldsburg, Ohio, Classy E. Jules said Northern California, Sonoma County, wine country. Actually, one of my coaching clients is actually from there too. Shout out to Sonoma County. ATM Tone said Jordan. Is that Jordan the country or Jordan the person? Sylvia from Houston. King Cardell, Palm Beach, Lake Worth. Shout out to Palm Beach. MILF County. Anyway. NC. Pitfall D said, I enjoy your show from Kentucky. Shout out to Kentucky. ATM said, my son, Kobe. Your son is named Kobe? Okay. Nashville's in the building. IT Burnout from North Carolina. All right, a few more, then we'll get into this. Hershey Park. Yeah, Hershey Park. There was something. I know it was something in Hershey that I was thinking of. Hershey Park, yes. So you got Dorney Park. We got Hershey Park. And then there used to be a Six Flags, or was that in Jersey? Was it Six Flags in Jersey or PA? I think it was in Jersey. But yeah, shout out to Hershey Park. That was the place I was thinking of. The Chocolate World I know about. It was Hershey Park. Yeah, shout out to Hershey Park. Yes, the amusement park. When is the National Guard coming to Baltimore? Soon. I got a couple more bodies dropped. They'll be there soon. Don't worry. It's not a long drive from D.C. to Baltimore. All right, so you ain't even got to hold your breath. They'll be there pretty quickly. Sight and Sound, Detroit is in the house. Vicky said Maryland. Shout out to Maryland. User said Baltimore, Philadelphia need National Guard. Crime is terrible. They might be coming. Don't joke. Washington, D.C. is only about 2 hours away from Philly, so don't joke. ATL, Lacey Rivers from Vancouver, Washington, Live Free, Chicago. Vicky said Jersey. That's what I thought. I thought it was in Jersey. Shout out to the Six Flags. User said, of course, Chicago has needed for 50 years, but see, it's not close enough to D.C., so they don't care. So they're just going to let the Negroes in Chicago do whatever they want to do because it's not affecting people in D.C. So Vicky said, I hope they're coming to Baltimore to clean it up. They might. Baltimore, I don't know. If it's not at your front door, they might not care that much. That's the thing y'all got to understand. Fit body boys at Hershey Park. Yeah, that's what I thought was Hershey Park. So let's talk about these NFL male cheerleaders. So this is not. There's different types of male cheerleaders. Apparently, I thought it was only one kind of male cheerleader, which is the guys with the big muscles. Actually, let me back up. When I was in college, I'll tell you a funny story. So there was this guy. Let me back up even further. When I was in college, we used to play pickup basketball. I went to a college that was a Division III college. So most of the people who played basketball were just everyday average Joe guys who weren't serious about basketball. That's true on every campus. But even some of the guys on the damn basketball team were like this. So when we would play pickup, we had one gym at the time, and everybody on campus would come to that one gym. So the basketball team's in there, everyday guys are in there. They would come in there to play against us and to watch us, and the girls would come in there because we were in there. We turned it into a pickup gym was a scene on our campus at the time that we were going there because people didn't even play pickup like that, a lot of my teammates, but we turned it into a place that everybody would go. So we're in there playing pickup, and there was 2 full courts. So there was, when you first walked in the gym, there was a full court that everybody would see as soon as you walked in. That's where the serious players would play, like the basketball team. Then there was a gym on the far end where if you weren't that serious but you wanted to play basketball, you would play over there. And if you couldn't get on the court with us, on the main court, you would go play over there. We used to call it the D League. So the NBA's minor league is now called the G League because it got sponsored by Gatorade, but it used to be called the D League, which stands for Developmental League. So anybody who played over there, we would joke about them and say, y'all playing in the D League. If y'all want to play serious ball, you had to come play with us. So it was this guy who would sometimes play pickup with us. We never even bothered to learn this guy's name because me and a couple of my teammates who were serious, we would give people nicknames. So we'd give people nicknames just based on who they look like or how they played or something like that. So there used to be this player in the NBA named Chris Whitney. He played for the Washington Wizards, or I think they might have still been the Bullets at the time. Washington Wizards, we called this guy Chris Whitney. We never learned his actual name. We just called him Chris Whitney. Then was another guy, this is white guy, like this scrappy white kid. We called him Kirk Heinrich. And that was funny because I was just talking to a guy yesterday, Nathan, on his podcast, and he's actually from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and that's where Kirk Heinrich is from. And he said he knows Kirk Heinrich, so it made me think of that. So we called this guy Kirk Heinrich. There was another guy. We would give these people names. I can't even remember everybody's name who we used to give them names. So we would just give them random names, right? So this one guy would sometimes play pickup with us, maybe 30% of the time. Then the other 70% of the time, he would be in the gym, but he'd be playing in the D League. And he looked like this guy named Eric Snow. So Eric Snow was a point guard who played with Allen Iverson on the Sixers at this time. And I went to college from 2000 until 2004. So this was Allen Iverson, like prime years in the NBA on the Sixers in Philadelphia. So there was a guy named Eric Snow who played with Allen Iverson. And there was a guy on my campus who looked like Eric Snow. So we just called him Eric Snow. Never even found out this guy's actual name. But most of the time he played pickup in the D League. So we never really paid this guy any mind. So either our junior or our senior year of college, me and my teammates who were serious about basketball, we have, of course, there's basketball tryouts. And every campus technically has tryouts. Not everybody who tries out makes it. Usually the recruited players who were invited make the team. Then everybody else, one or two guys might make the roster and sit on the bench all year. So we had tryouts, and this guy, Eric Snow, who we called Eric Snow, not actual Eric Snow, he comes and tries out for the basketball team. And it was funny to us because we're like, all the dudes, because even though we had these open walk-on tryouts, and we had a coach who, my last coach in college, he was kind of crazy. He would bring random bums onto the team in the middle of the season just because he thought they might be able to do something. He would see some, I'll give you another story. I got to tell you another story here. So my senior year of college, there was this dude who came to our campus named Will. Now, Will was from Philly, like me. I went to school at Penn State University. And my campus was Penn State Altoona, which is in Altoona, PA, which is about 35 minutes away from the main campus in State College. So I know a lot of people from Penn State just because we would go back and forth to the main campus all the time for partying and other college activities. Those of you who went to college, you know what I mean. So we're at Altoona, and this guy, Will, Philadelphia is like 3-4 hours away from Altoona. Will comes to our campus spring semester of my senior year. Now, Will is 6 feet. He's like 6'8", 6'9". 6'9" dude, skinny, but 6'9". And this dude looks like he might be a basketball player. You see somebody 6'8", 6'9" walking around, the first thing you want to ask him is, do you play basketball? Like, that's the question everybody asks. I'm 6'4". People ask me if I play basketball, and I'm only 6'4". I'm like right on the borderline of, if I say I don't play basketball, you're not surprised. But you're 6'8" and you don't play basketball, surprised. So the coach sees Will walking around campus, right? And he assumes this guy can play basketball. He invites him to practice that day. So he invites this guy, Will, to basketball practice. This guy, Will, had never touched a basketball in his life, even though he's 6'9" from Philadelphia, black. Never touched a basketball in his life. He didn't know what a defensive stance was. He didn't know how to do. He didn't know anything about basketball, right? So Will barely plays. He was in practice with the team for like a week, and then he gets thrown away. I'm bringing him up because later on, many girls on the campus, they were saying to me, because I don't think this way. They were saying to me they thought Will was gay. And over time, it started to make more sense. Like, how you 6'8", 6'9", you grow up to be 20 years old in the city of Philadelphia. Nobody ever puts a basketball in your hand. Didn't make sense to me. Anyway, he wasn't the story. So we had basketball tryouts, right? This guy, Eric Snow, tries out for the team. And we're laughing like the people who really thought they could play, even if they couldn't, if they thought they could play, they would always come and play with us on the main pickup court. Eric Snow would most of the time would go play with the bums in the D League. Like these dudes who don't even play ball for real. He would go play with them. But then we have basketball tryouts and he's trying out for the basketball team. Like, dude, you wouldn't even play pickup with us. Now you think you're gonna be on a team with us. We thought that was hilarious. He tries out for the basketball team. He doesn't make the basketball team. Okay, which is what you expect from what I told you in this story. He didn't make the team. He was a bum. He couldn't really play. Basketball season starts, right? So before basketball season starts, those of you who know, they changed it a little bit, but they still have like an event to introduce the basketball team. They used to call this Midnight Madness. Midnight Madness would literally happen at midnight. It would be this late night event. Everybody would come to it, and it would be an introduction of the basketball team. They would introduce the men's team and the women's team. It was like a big party. It'd be a big party. There'd be a showcase. You might play a little pickup game. There'd be a dunk contest. It would just be a big party to get everybody excited about the basketball team. Any basketball campus, any campus with a basketball team is important. Midnight Madness is a big deal. Everybody comes to Midnight Madness, even if you don't like basketball, because it's the place to be. It's like the biggest party on campus. During my senior year, they changed Midnight Madness to Meet the Team Night. So basically, they whitewashed it and turned it into this corporate type of event that was really boring and dumb. And they took it away from being at midnight. So instead of being 11 o'clock at night where the gym was packed, it was a party. Then they started having it at like 7 o'clock, and it was whack. Anyway, we had the event, and during this event, of course, they introduced the women's basketball team. They introduced the men's basketball team. I'm just giving y'all this story for context. We didn't get to the topic yet, but this is part of the topic. So they introduced the women's team. They introduced the men's team. And then what they usually do is they introduce, because there's a party, they introduce the dance team and the cheerleaders. So the dance team comes out, and it's a bunch of girls in spandex, and they do their little dances, whatever. Cheerleaders come running out. So when the cheerleaders come running out, guess who comes running out with the cheerleaders? All right, based on the context, if I told this story well enough, y'all should be able to answer that question. Who came out with the cheerleaders when they introduced the cheerleaders? Mind you, this is the night when they introduced the basketball team. Then they say, oh, here's the cheerleaders, so they're going to do a little dance. Who do you think came out with the cheerleaders? Somebody said Will. No, not Will. Not the 6'8" black guy who couldn't play basketball. No, somebody else. I only told y'all about two people in this story. There's only two characters in this story. So a bunch of you guessed Will. No, it was not Will. It was not the 6'8" black guy. It was Eric Snow. Eric Snow came up. It wasn't Will. It was Eric Snow. Okay, so based on context, I understand y'all guessing it was Will. But the 6'9" black guy on the cheerleading team, that would have been the story. No, it was not Will. It was Eric Snow. Now, Eric Snow is probably about 6'2", 6'3". He comes out with the cheerleaders, and we are all, this is like hilarious to us. Mind you, we're like on the side, because now they introduced us, and we're on the side, and they're introducing the cheerleaders. We got to wait for them to get introduced so we can do our stuff. They come running out, and it was like two men. He wasn't the only one. It was him and another man. They came out, and you know how the male cheerleaders. Now, in Eric Snow's defense, that's not his actual name, so I don't even know this dude's name. In his defense, this was the masculine male cheerleader. Y'all seen those before. If you watch college football, there are masculine male cheerleaders all the time. These guys are usually pretty big. They had to be physically strong because the girls will do a flip and then the man will lift them up and you hold them there and the girl cheers for like 5 seconds, then he puts her down. You got to actually be pretty strong to lift up a 120-pound girl and hold her steady without moving. You have to have a lot of shoulder strength, tricep strength, bicep strength, strong wrists, and a strong core to be able to do that. Like, I'm not joking. You actually have to be strong to do that. A lot of men with big muscles can't do it because their core is not strong enough and their shoulders are not strong enough. They don't have the stabilizer muscles not strong enough to do that. You actually have to be strong to do that job. Eric Snow was doing that. He was a male. We still laughed at him because he was a male cheerleader. He went from trying out for the basketball team to being a male cheerleader. That's funny, no matter how you contextualize it. But he was the masculine type of male cheerleader. I accept that those exist because they serve an actual purpose that you need a man to do. You can't have no girl holding up a girl. Most girls don't have that kind of strength. So he was doing the masculine male cheerleading. That's cool. I ain't got a problem with that. Earlier this week, today's Friday, so this probably was maybe Sunday or Monday, somebody posted on X. No, not the same Eric Snow in the NBA. I'm not that old. Eric Snow, well, first of all, Eric Snow was in the NBA, so why would he be a cheerleader? Eric Snow was on the team, the real Eric Snow. I'm giving y'all his name, Eric Snow. Eric Snow was an actual basketball player, for those of you who don't understand. He played in the NBA. He was teammates with Allen Iverson. He's older than me. He was in the NBA when I was in college. So Eric Snow is probably 10 years older than me. He's probably 50 these days. So anyway, this guy, we called him Eric Snow because he looked like Eric Snow. So it was a nickname, Eric Snow. That's what we just give people nicknames. So the reason I'm bringing all that up. Earlier this week on X, that's the only social media app where I scroll and engage with people other than talking to you all on these live streams. Someone posted a photo and said, here's a guy who's on the Minnesota Vikings cheerleader squad. And this is where this whole conversation happened. So someone posted, and this was going viral, and I responded to it. And someone said, hey, this guy's on the Minnesota Vikings cheerleader squad. Now, mind you, it was just a photo. So somebody posted this photo, and they said, this guy's on the Minnesota Vikings cheerleader squad. I saw the photo. That's all it said. This guy's on the Minnesota Vikings squad. I responded and said, male cheerleaders have always existed. Well, why is that a big deal? Why does this even matter? Because by the photo, I couldn't really tell. I mean, this guy, he looks a little bit, you could say this looks a little feminine. Looks like he might have some lip gloss on or maybe pink, what do you call that? Lipstick. Looks like it. The way his hair is done, maybe, but I've seen men who actually go out to bars and talk to girls and take girls home whose hair looks just like this. So this doesn't look suspect to me. He just looks like a man who is whoever he is. I'm looking at him, all right. I'm like, all right, cool. His eyebrows look done. And see, I don't look at these kind of details. Men, we don't look at this shit. Women notice these kind of things. When I first looked at it, I didn't think anything different about it. And the clothing he's wearing, you can't quite tell. The shirt is kind of big on him, so you can't quite tell his physique. He could be a very strong guy. Now, usually a male cheerleader, usually bigger, broader in the shoulders, bigger upper body. But again, with the shirt that he has on, it's hard to tell what his physique is actually like because the shirt is too big. So I responded to this and said, this is normal. They're male cheerleaders all the time. This is nothing different about this. And the woman, this is clearly a conservative. She was a white woman, clearly conservative. And she was going hard about this. I think she was from Minnesota. So she was kind of clapping back like, are your eyes working? Are you blind? Et cetera. So she had a problem with me kind of defending this guy. I wasn't really defending him. I was just saying neutrally, male cheerleaders have always been a thing, which they have been. What I didn't know was the fuller context. The fuller context is that guy that I just showed you. Let me show you some more context because then more context started coming out because this started to go viral after that. Now, see, here's another picture of that same guy. Now, had I seen this picture, I would have had a different response. This is the same Minnesota Vikings cheerleader, whoever he is. This is a real person. Here's another picture of him outside of the stadium. Maybe that's his mom. I don't know. Girlfriend. Who knows? His, what do you call that? What do you call that? The women who hang with a man who's not interested in women. What do you call the women who do that? Yeah, whatever that's called. Yeah, maybe maybe his mom. Maybe it's his sister. And here's another photo of him on the field next to a female cheerleader. Now, see, I didn't know about these photos. Okay. So I didn't know about these photos. Starfish says, Dre, you've been going since I'm 8 and I'm 24 now. LOL. What was that, 16 years? I actually been going longer than that. So you found out about me. I was already going. But that's what's up. So the question is, Garrett said, why does it matter? We're going to get to that, Garrett. Stay tuned. So here's another photo of him. I didn't see this photo. I didn't know about this context. And here's another photo of him. Y'all know about that green line thing? You know that green line thing that these men do? Red pill men do the green lines, like who's leaning more towards the other person. Well, in this one, he's leaning back and the girl's leaning into him. What does that tell you? But anyway, who's that? Probably his sister, maybe one of his friends from school. I guess that's the same guy. I can't tell. Let me see if I can find another. There was another video of just this guy. Here it is. So here's the guy. And there's a couple things that need to be understood about this. So let me rewind the video so y'all can see it from the beginning. Okay, so here's him doing some flips. And this is on 2x speed, by the way. So this is just him. I didn't know all this context. And according to this guy named Graham Allen on X, Graham Allen is a husband, father, veteran, founder of something called Dear America. He has an American flag in his bio. So just all that alone, you can pretty much guess Graham Allen is probably conservative. It's crazy these days that you got an American flag in your bio. People can 99% guess that you're conservative, which seems crazy to me. Not the topic here today. Graham says, Minnesota Vikings hired a male lead cheerleader, a male as their lead cheerleader for this season. This is just disgusting. So he's not just on the team. This guy's the lead cheerleader, meaning when the group gets into formation, there's one person at the front, it's him. I just want y'all to digest that point. And we're going to get into all this. I haven't even gotten into the material yet. I'm just giving y'all the context of where this is all coming from. This is how this conversation became the conversation we're having today. I didn't know about any of this stuff. Now, here's another post by D. O'Sheal, who says, this is what I thought a male cheerleader looked like and what he was capable of, but the Vikings sure effed that image up. Here's the male cheerleader I'm talking about. This is Eric Snow. They were doing stuff like this. This kind of male cheerleader I knew existed. They existed before I got to college. They've always existed. This has been a normal thing. It's usually like 2 or 3 or 5 of them on every team. Is a pretty strong man. You see this guy has musculature. This guy lifts weights. So you can't do that without lifting weights. He got 2 girls. He got 1 girl in each hand. And you can tell by the legs on both of those girls. The girls are about 120, maybe 130 pounds each. And he is holding them up 1 hand each and yelling and smiling at the same time. You got to lift some weights to do that. Now, you can't just walk in the gym and do that. Walk on the field and do that. This takes actual effort. This is normal, okay? This is what I thought these guys were. So when I saw this picture, I thought he was that. I thought he was the other guy. There's another one. There's a guy named Louis. This guy's also on the cheerleading squad. So this was the Minnesota Vikings. What we came to find out is that I believe there are maybe 15 teams in the NFL that have similar roles being filled in similar ways by men on their cheerleading squads. And I know the question is, why does it matter? Trust me, we're going to answer that question, why it matters, because it does matter. That's the context for what we're talking about here today. Now, male cheerleaders have been in the NFL doing the strongman thing. What do we want to call it? We need a name for this. So let's just say the strongman cheerleaders. Y'all know what the strongman cheerleader, not straw man. That's the common logical fallacy. I'm sure I'm going to give that award out today. I mean, strong man, like muscles. This is the type of cheerleader that's always existed in the NFL. These guys. All right, this I've been completely fine with. We know that this is a thing. Now, the pom-pom male cheerleaders, the pom-poms are little things that the girls wave around. This has not been around for decades. Their role used to be the strong man, the stunt man. They would lift the girls, they would toss the girls, and they would catch the female cheerleaders. As a heterosexual man, that's actually not a bad gig. To be one man and you're on a team with 25 usually pretty, usually fit girls, and you can throw them around and catch them. That ain't a bad gig. Now, what this dude is doing, waving the pom-poms, that's a whole different ballgame. So in recent years, because it alleges it, what I found out, because I don't pay attention to the cheerleaders. If you're a man, you go to a sporting event, you might notice the cheerleaders, but they kind of blend into the background. Like, you know that they're there, but are you really looking at the cheerleaders? Not really. Maybe at a basketball game because they're closer up. But at a football game, they're just background noise. They're like the referees. So apparently, this has been going on for years, that male pom-pom cheerleaders have been around and that we're all just now noticing this. This has been going on, allegedly. Full matching uniforms with the girls, performing the same synchronized dance moves as the girls. And for some fans, some of you commenting right now, why does it matter? Why can't they just do what they want to do? They're not bothering anybody. They're not breaking any rules, not breaking any laws. They're not pretending to be women. They are clearly men. They came in as men and they got chosen as men and they're on a cheerleading team as men. Why the hell does anybody have a problem with this? You ham-fisted, hard-headed men. You have a problem with this. Why? What's the problem? Why can't they just be who they want to be? If the team chose them, they can do what they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. I know that that's one of the arguments. I'm going to make my argument. And for others, this represents a shift in the league's image, tone, and audience targeting. That's what this represents, that the NFL is shifting how they want to present themselves, the tone of their message, who they're targeting in their audience. Does this matter? Yes, it does matter. Because the NFL is $1 billion product. And if you start changing the formula of $1 billion product, it might make it better, but it might make it worse, but it is going to have an effect. That's the reason why we're talking about it. We got to talk about it because it's news. So what we talk about here in these lives are current events, in case anybody didn't know. This is a current event. That's why it matters. That's why we're talking about it. So this discussion is less about whether a man can be a cheerleader. Obviously they can because they're doing it. I told y'all, I give you very clear lines when it comes to qualifications. You are qualified to do something as soon as you either start doing it on your own volition, i.e. me starting this live stream and talking about it. I'm qualified to talk about it because I did it. And or you are in a place where you must be selected, chosen, and you get selected or chosen. You're qualified at that very moment. Are these men qualified to be cheerleaders? The answer is yes, they are, because they tried out for the cheerleading squad and the team said you're on the team. That qualifies them. Does that make it completely okay based on our perspectives and opinions? That's the debate. That's the conversation we're having here today. So this is not about black and white. Can they be on the team? Well, obviously they're on the team. So that's not the question. Question is, how do we feel about them being on the team? And that's what we're going to discuss. And this is what current events is about. We talk about shit. We don't have to agree, but we are going to get our points out on the table. That's what we're going to do here today. So it's about what kind of cheerleading belongs on the NFL stage and what do we want, what do we not want. So everybody understand the context of what we're going to do here today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. Written a bunch of books. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we help professionals, high-performing people, entrepreneurs, ambitious people get to the top 2% in terms of their discipline. We teach top 2% discipline. That discipline leads to confidence, performance, producing the results, and collecting of rewards. So any of you want to step your discipline up so that you can create this cascading effect of confidence, performance, results, and rewards, go to the link in my profile. You can learn more about working with me. We got a program called the Power Presence Protocol starting this upcoming Tuesday. Sunday is the last day to register. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. You can get into that. I'll tell you more about that stuff later on. Let's get into the topic here today. First of all, some say, and I try to argue both sides of this conversation. Some say that dancing skill, which is what cheerleading is pretty much dancing, is not gender exclusive. Men dance. There are male dancers all the time. Right? You go to a Beyonce show or a Jennifer Lopez show, there are male dancers on the stage, right? They're like half of them are men, half of them are women. They got the choreography down and they got the moves and they move just like the women do. And if a man wants to be a dancer, then he has every right to be a dancer. It is a form of athletic performance because cheerleading is a highly competitive thing at I think up to like the high school level, that there's competitive cheerleading, right? That's a thing that I know a lot of. I will talk to mothers who have daughters who are into competitive cheerleading, and it's a big deal. Competitive cheerleading is a real thing. It's a sport, and people get injured doing competitive cheerleading. You get hurt doing that stuff, all those flips and all that stuff. It can be, and that kind of performance can be expressed in many forms beyond just being the strong stunt man and having big muscles and doing lifts. Is this true? Yes, it is. Here's the problem. Is that it is not that the men who are on these cheerleading teams, is not that they're walking into the locker room, the cheerleading locker room, pretending to be a woman and then getting on the team. If they were doing that, we'd be having a little bit different conversation here today. They're not doing that. They're coming in very clearly men, and they're walking into a space that is predominantly female dominated. And they're saying, I want to be a part of this. And the team, I don't know how the women feel about it, but the team, the deciders, decision makers of the team, they say, okay, we're going to make this happen. Here's the issue that I have with it. Okay. And this is not a black and white, right or wrong thing. It's just my personal position. And you all may have different positions. Is that we know that there's an issue when a man cosplays as a woman, i.e. pretending to be a woman, but is actually not a woman, or is a boy saying he's a girl, he gets on a girl's team, then he goes and beats the girls and then gets a trophy. That I'm completely against on a black and white scale. That one, there is no gray area as far as I'm concerned. Boy cannot become a girl. Okay, that's where I stand on that, just in case any of you didn't know. But if a boy says, or a male says, I'm going to go into a female-dominated space and I just want to join the team clearly as a male, and the team says yes, here's the issue that I have with it, is that cheerleading, colloquially, for lack of a better term, has generally been accepted as a female-dominated domain. It's a female-dominated domain. When I say the cheerleader, if I tell you to just picture a team of cheerleaders, what are they going to look like? If I go on Grok right now, and I tell Grok, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on Grok Imagine. This is the app that lets you create images out of nowhere. These are their sample images. Here's what I'm going to put in. Team of cheerleaders. Y'all see the prompt. Team of cheerleaders. That's all I'm going to put in the prompt. This is AI image creation, team of cheerleaders. So let's watch what it comes up with. I just said, give me a team of cheerleaders. What do you see? A bunch of women. All right. That's the generally accepted way. And you see how fast that is? This is where AI is going, by the way, folks. This is how quickly that happened in 2 seconds. Team of cheerleaders, and they give me a team of cheerleaders. You could use this as a stock image in 2 seconds. This is what cheerleaders look like. We generally accept that the cheerleaders are females, and that is a female-dominated space. It's a space that belongs to women. And when women are cheerleading, who are they cheering for? Who's playing? When you see a team of cheerleaders, who's playing on the field or on the court? Men. Generally, as accepted in society, the men are on the field performing and playing. The women can be the cheerleaders on the side cheering for the men to go play. These are the accepted roles that we've had in society. Does this mean it always has to be like this? Not necessarily. Can women play a sport? Of course. We got plenty of female sports. Can men be cheerleaders? Well, I knew men to be cheerleaders to be the strong guy with the muscles lifting the girls up. That, okay. I wouldn't do it, but I know men who have done that, and I gave you examples of men who done it. It was funny to me, but if that's what they want to do, fine. Everyone accepts and knows what their role is. Men stepping in and now taking a spot that previously would have belonged to a woman, even though he's clearly a man, and they know he's clearly a man, that just doesn't sit right with me. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of men having spaces that men dominate, and they get their spots, not because a woman can't come in, but because a woman could not compete. The New York Knicks, if they opened up their tryouts and said anybody can be on the team, there's no WNBA, there's just the NBA. Anybody who wants to play basketball. All basketball will be played in the NBA. So if you want to play professional basketball in the United States, you got to be in the NBA. There's no WNBA. There's no one just for women, just one league. Anybody is a wide open league. How many women would make an NBA roster? Give me a number in the comments. If they destroyed the WNBA and just said, we're just going to have the NBA. Since a woman is equal to a man, Megan Rapinoe, and a woman can do everything a man can do, Kamala Harris, how about we just have the NBA? We don't need the WNBA because a woman can do everything a man can do. So how about we just have everybody try out for the team? Let's see how many women make the NBA. How many women would be on the NBA roster? All right, all of you know the answer is 0. Alex said 5 to 7. Yeah, right. Then you woke up, Alex. Nobody. All right, nobody would be on the roster. Not a single woman would make the roster. And why? That's the reason why the WNBA exists. So there can be a space where the women can compete against other women. And in the open league that anybody can join, guess what? Only men make the team because men are going to dominate in that space. Cheerleading is designed a little bit differently. It's not about brute force, brute strength, and pure athleticism, but it is about there's a certain expectation we put a cheerleading squad together. What's the reason for the cheerleading squad? Is that we got all this testosterone and masculinity on the court or on the field, and these big, athletic, strong men with these big muscles sweating and battling against each other. How about we offer a little bit of contrast, a little bit of change of pace? When the men go sit down for a timeout to drink some Gatorade and talk it over with the coach, how about we offer a change of pace and bring some girls in to give you a little bit of entertainment for 30 seconds or 3 minutes before the men come back on the field and finish doing what they're doing. And then you got the pretty girls on the side. So you get a little bit of balance of everything. It's like mixing the sugar with the salt. All right, let's mix it all in together so we can give everybody a mix and everybody can get something when they come in here for this competition. This also, not for nothing, helps sell tickets to men. All right, men will go to the game because they want to see the other men compete against each other. But the fact that there's 30 pretty girls who are going to run on the field after every timeout or in between every quarter and do a little dance with small clothing on does not hurt the fact that men are going to keep buying tickets to the event. This is one of the reasons the cheerleading squads came to exist. We created cheerleading squads to give you a change of pace, to give the men some eye candy to look at because the women can look at the men on the field. The men are at the game. They can look at the girls. All right, here's the girls. The girls are the cheerleaders. Now, what they're starting to do is allow men to be on these cheerleading teams. But this is not what I want to see when I see cheerleaders. Again, this is not a black and white, I'm right, you're wrong thing. This is just my perspective. I don't want to see men when I'm looking at cheerleaders. If I'm looking at the cheerleaders, which if I go to a sport, I don't really go to sporting events, but if I did, and the girl and the dance team comes out, I'm going to see a bunch of pretty, fit girls with nice bodies doing dances. That's what I want to see. That's what I'm expecting to see. I don't want to see men doing dances. I don't want to see a man gyrating in front of me. I just don't want to see it. I want to see a man slam dunk. I want to see a man throw a touchdown pass. I want to see men throwing uppercuts and left hooks. I don't want to see a man gyrating and doing dances. I just don't want to see it. And the consumers of sports have a right to that opinion. So why does it matter? Because of what I just said. So this is moving away from the traditional masculine role of the men are on the field playing, or you're in the stands watching because you can appreciate that there are certain things that these men on the football field can do that the men in the stands can't do. We appreciate and we respect that. That's why men go to the football games and cheer for the team because the next best thing would be on the field. I can't quite get on the field, but I can cheer for the team. I can respect the fact that these guys can do something that I can't do. It's not trying to find another way to get involved in the performance because you couldn't do it on the field. Again, this is just a masculine way of looking at things. You may even consider this to be a toxic masculine way of looking at things. I'll accept that. You call it toxic if you want to. The line of masculinity has been moved so far towards femininity that just normal masculinity feels toxic. That's where we are now. But we need to be able to say this, that we want to see women. When I see the cheerleading team or the dance team, I don't see no men. Why do I want to see a man in tights dancing? I ain't into that. As Cameron likes to say, I ain't into that. So this is moving away from the traditional masculine role, replacing it with choreography that many see as feminized choreography. Cheerleading choreography is for girls. It's designed for women. And generally speaking, gay men. That's what it is. You see a man on the cheerleading squad. Now, if I see a man on the cheerleading squad with the muscles, I'm thinking he's probably straight. Now, he's probably heterosexual. I wouldn't do it. I couldn't bring my mind around to doing that job. But I get it. And again, as I said, that ain't no bad gig. You're on a team with 25 pretty girls and there's only like 2 or 3 men. That's actually a good place to be. You're the fox in the hen house, not for nothing. But if the man is the strong man, I get it. I understand you. I wouldn't do what you're doing, but I understand you. Now, if you're on the team doing the dances with the girls, that tells me you might not be heterosexual. So now they're infiltrating a female space. And I'm not a woman. So let me ask the women in the room, do you all, even though a space may not be marked only women, it's not like the cheerleading squad says only women can be on the team. I don't know if there's anywhere that they say that, and excluding men. But as a woman, do you appreciate and value spaces where you know that it's traditionally just girls, just women, and you know if you go there, it's just going to be women there, and there's no testosterone in the room? Do you appreciate spaces like that and appreciate that they exist? Give me a yes or no. Do you appreciate that these spaces exist, even though they may not be clearly marked? Men can't come in. Do you appreciate the fact that men don't come in? Is this a thing? When I'm asking the females. And again, I'm not saying it's a women-only space. I'm not saying something that says just women, like a women's locker room. A man's not supposed to go in there. I'm just talking about a space that just traditionally it's a female space, and usually it's just women in there. Do you appreciate that? Do you appreciate that you can have that, and you know men are not going to walk in, even though technically they could? So all the women are saying yes. The women appreciate female-only spaces. Like if you had a mom's club, or for example, I was talking to someone who was telling me the story the other day. Like you have parents, and the parents like to bring their kids together for play dates. If it's all moms, one dad bringing his kid would make the whole thing kind of awkward. Assuming that he's heterosexual, it make the whole thing awkward if the dad tries to come in. So if there's no mom there with the dad, if there's no mom bringing the child, the dad is going to look and feel awkward in that space because there's 8 moms in there and now you're going to come in. And again, it's not like you're trying to come in and do anything with the women or to the women, but the fact there's 8 women in the room with their 3-year-old, and here you come as a man with your 3-year-old, you've thrown off the whole pH balance of the room, metaphorically speaking. If everybody gets what I'm saying. There are spaces that women should be, and there are spaces where men should be. And what's happened in society these days is people have come out and they're trying to blur these lines, and they're trying to say, well, we don't need to do it that way anymore, Dre, with your old school, back in the day, ham-fisted ways of looking at things, that traditional roles, just because something has been happening in the past doesn't mean it has to stay this way. We need change. We need to blur the lines, and everybody doesn't have to fit into these traditional roles. And I get the value of changing things when there is value in changing things. I also get the value of upholding things that we have traditionally respected in a certain way, because just because something is old does not mean it's bad. Just because something is new does not mean it's good. Just because something has changed does not mean it's progress. And a lot of people tend to use these words as if there's no other interpretation. Old does not necessarily mean bad. New does not necessarily mean good. And change does not necessarily mean progress. And what's happened, the psyop that has happened especially over the last 15 years, is that people have conditioned a bunch of you even to believe that that's the case. Just because something is old, well, we have to change it. Why? Just because it's old? So what that is old? There's a lot of things that are old that we need to keep exactly as they are. Stop at a green light. Stop at a red light. Excuse me. Go at a green light. Use caution at a yellow light. Do we need to change that just because it's old? Do we need to fix the tradition and do something new just because? This whole concept of change for the sake of change is what leads to chaos. There's a scientific law called entropy. The law of entropy states that objects that are especially human-made things are always moving towards a higher state of chaos and disorder, which means when there are no standards, when there are no parameters, when there are no guidelines, if there are none, or if you have them and then you start lowering them and erasing them, the only thing you can get scientifically proven is chaos. If you have a standard and then you stop enforcing the standard, you're going to get chaos. If the standard is the cheerleading squad is for women, and if a man comes and says they want to be on a cheerleading squad, the director of the cheerleading squad, mind you, the people who choose the team are not the cheerleaders. So this ain't like a sorority where they vote on who gets in and who doesn't. The cheerleading squad is chosen by the director of the cheerleaders, who is not an actual cheerleader. The team, and the NFL is corporate, by the way, in case any of you are trying to connect the dots on why would the NFL do this. The NFL is corporate, for what it's worth. And y'all should understand what that means. If you want to know why things like DEI took off, it was because corporate America made it take off. The NFL is corporate. Y'all get it? So a man comes and he wants to be on the team. It used to be that the gatekeeper of that team said, hey, thank you for coming, but this is for women only. Or we generally pick women. Or you can try out and it's going to be obvious to you that you ain't good enough to be on the team. So thank you for coming. You ain't going to be on the team. Get out of here. Same thing happened to Eric Snow. He tried out for the basketball team. All right, you can try out, but you ain't good enough and it's obvious. Now get out of here. You had your shot. Now get out. We gave you what you asked for. They let this guy be on the team. And it's not because he's necessarily such a great dancer. I'm no judge of dancing. The reason he's on the team is because the NFL is sending a signal that we're open to this. We're open to changing this line, this parameter. This is for the women. That's for the men. You know what we're going to do? We're going to let a man get on the team. And then every team's going to have a man. Eventually, every team's going to have a man because they're going to face pressure. Our 23 teams have a man. 15 teams have a man. Why don't y'all have a man? Eventually, all the teams are going to have men. Those roles are going to be taken away from women. And there are going to be more men infiltrating spaces that traditionally belong to women. Now, why is that a problem? Because here's what we don't see in society these days. Whether we're talking a man pretending to be a woman or a man staying as a man but then going into a space of women, you don't see women infiltrating men's spaces. That doesn't happen. You don't see a woman going to a space that's traditionally male and just saying, hey, I want to get into this space because it's not just for men, it's for women too. You don't see women doing that. Now, why do women not do that? Well, biologically, women are not designed to do that, because if you step into a space in which other people may be uncomfortable, then you may receive some form of pushback, whether that be a verbal pushback or a physical pushback, because you're stepping into a space that traditionally does not welcome you. And women are not built for that type of confrontation, either emotionally, verbally, or physically. So they tend to not go into men's spaces and say, I'm just going to be here and who's going to stop me? See, a man can do that to women, but a woman can't do that to a man, which is why the rules are not the same. So when a man steps into a woman's space and says, I'm going to be here, who's going to stop me? It's a man's responsibility to check that man. It's not the woman's responsibility. It's the man's responsibility to check the man. So when a boy or a male pretends to be a girl or a female and steps into a women's space, it's a woman's role to raise a hand and raise the red flag and say, hey, something's going on over here. It's not supposed to happen. But who's responsible for getting that man out of that space? It's the men, it's not the women. It's the men's responsibility, because men are built for confrontation. Men are built for altercation. Men have testosterone. We are built for handling conflict and settling down conflict. Women are not built for doing that. What a woman should be able to do when something like that happens is call on a man or men, and men are supposed to check that man and say, yo, get out of here. Okay, you're a man and you want to cosplay as a woman, cool, but you're not stepping into this space with these women. That's my wife, that's my daughter, that's my sister. Get out of here. And that's it. It'll end that quickly. And you don't have to do that with women, because no woman's going to step into a man's space. The first man she comes across is going to say, what are you doing in here? Get out. It's over. She ain't going to fight. So when you have men stepping into female spaces, and then there are men who are the powers that be, who have the power of decision and the power of voice, and they're allowing it and they're not saying anything, this is a violation. I'm not holding the women responsible for this. I'm holding the men responsible for this. Good morning. How are you? How you doing?
Good.
You doing good? Okay. Can you say hi to TikTok? Can
Hi, TikTok.
you say hi to Instagram?
I have no time to say hi to anybody. I gotta eat cake.
Cake. Son, it's 8:56 in the morning. You got to eat cake?
Yes.
Now, my son's birthday was the other day, so we still have some leftover cake. We still have birthday cake?
Yes.
I don't know how much longer you're going to be eating cake in the morning, so you better enjoy it while you can. You get maybe a week, okay?
Yeah.
Your birthday was Monday, so after Monday, I'm going to talk to Mommy. We got to get rid of that cake. You don't want to eat cake in the morning. It's not good for your system.
Yes, it is.
Well, it feels good to you, that sugar, but you want to start the morning with something more solid, something that's better for you, not artificial sugar. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not trying to make you sad. You can still have cake. You want to have cake?
Mm.
Yeah, I think Mommy's going to give you some. Did she make you breakfast?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you say hi to Instagram?
Hi, Instagram.
And say hi to YouTube?
Hi, YouTube.
And hi to LinkedIn?
Hi, LinkedIn.
And hi to Facebook?
Hi, Facebook.
And hi to Rumble Studio?
Hi, Rumble Studio.
All right, thank you. So what we're talking about here today is male cheerleaders. How you feel about that? You see? 3 years old, he even understands. All right, even he gets the principle. I asked him how he feels about male cheerleaders. He immediately exited the conversation. Did y'all see that? Y'all saw that, right? So, y'all, everybody saw that. Did everybody see that? As soon as I asked him, as soon as I asked him about male cheerleaders, he immediately got down and walked away. He didn't even want to talk about it. So, I didn't plan that, by the way. I didn't plan that. Y'all saw it with your own eyes. Everybody watching this, all y'all saw that. So the whole point here is back to what I was saying. This is men's responsibility. All right, when a man is walking around saying that he's a girl, and then he gets on the girls' sports team and wins a trophy, and people are standing there clapping, I'm not looking at the women. I'm looking at the men. Who the hell allowed this to happen? Who's the director of this league? Who's the commissioner? Who makes the final call? What man said this is okay? Because I'm sure there are women who are not okay with it. And here's the other thing. Of the Minnesota Vikings cheerleading squad, how many cheerleaders they got? Let's say they have 25, 30 cheerleaders. Do I think all the women on the team are okay with this man being on the team? I think some of them are probably okay with it. Do I think some of them are not okay with it? Yes. How many of you think that there are at least some women on that cheerleading squad that are not okay with there being a woman on the cheerleading squad? How many of you would say that there are at least some women? Put yes if you think there's at least one woman on that cheerleading squad who's not okay with a man being on the squad. Let me ask Brock a question. They might have an answer. How many NFL teams have at least one male on the cheerleading squad for this upcoming 2025 season? Now, Grok is a little bit slower than ChatGPT when it comes to producing answers, but it does tend to, on current events, it tends to be pretty good. So all of you are saying yes, that there is at least one woman on every team that's uncomfortable with the situation. Here's my position as a man. Let's say I'm running the cheerleading squad, and I got 25 women on the team, and a man comes in, he wants to be on the team, and some of the girls are okay with it, and there's pressure from the other teams. According to Grok, there are 12 teams that have at least one male on their squad, according to multiple sources. 12 teams. Vikings are just one. There's a whole bunch of other ones. The Philadelphia Eagles, my hometown team, has it. Miami Dolphins do not. And so Baltimore, LA, New Orleans, Philadelphia, San Francisco, New England, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Carolina. They all have at least one man on the team, according to reports. Now, back to what I'm saying. If I'm the man, I'm the director of the team. I get to choose who gets to be on the team. I go talk to all the women on the team because we're thinking about putting a man on the squad. It was not a normal thing. And I'm going to ask all the women honest conversation. And they need to know that I'm a person they can be honest with. Do you have any discomfort with there being a man on the cheerleading squad? And if so, what's your discomfort? Some of them may say yes, because cheerleading is supposed to be for women. Dre, I've been a cheerleader since I was 5 years old. I cheerleaded on the Pop Warner football. I cheerleaded in middle school. I cheered in high school. I was a competitive cheerleader. I've been a dancer all my life. Now I'm on a pro football cheerleading squad, and it's always been a space for women to be women and express ourselves through dance. And now you want to put a man on the team. That makes me uncomfortable. Not because I think the man's going to do anything, not because I think he's going to violate me in any way, but this is a space that I've traditionally grown up and has always been for women. And Dre, I'm not comfortable with there being a man on the cheerleading squad for that reason. If even one woman on the team said that to me, I'm going to my boss and I'm saying, we don't need a man on the cheerleading squad. Let's keep this a female-only thing. Now, a man has to be able to say that. A man got to be able to go to a man and say that. Even if there's 3 women on the team who don't like it, and they earn their spot, and then 20 women who do like it, I got to tell the man, I'm sorry. Thank you for trying, but no. Maybe we could find another role for you. Maybe you could be like the mascot or something. You know how sports teams had a mascot who runs around and does stuff? Maybe we could give you a solo thing where you're just like this. We got our mascot already, but you could be the extra mascot and you do this thing over here. Like the Miami Dolphins got the Dolphin. The Philadelphia Eagles got the Eagle. And then we could come up with another mascot role and you could kind of do that. And this would be you by yourself and you could do your little dancing, but it's just you over here. You're your own team, but the cheerleading team is going to be girls. I want girls on the cheerleading team. Because if any girl is uncomfortable, and again, this is a man's responsibility. If a man is in charge of a space and there are women in that space and there is a woman who is uncomfortable in any way with something that another man in that space is doing, it is a man's responsibility to check that man and get that man out of the space. Period. There's no equivocation to that. If I'm running an organization, there's 8 girls in the room and there's 3 men in the room. And I invited everybody there. And something that one of those 3 men is doing is making even one of those women uncomfortable. It is my role and the role of the other men in the room to check that man and either, fix your energy or you got to go. That's a man's role. So this is not on the women. And again, it doesn't have to be the whole team. It could be one woman on the team. If she earned her spot, then that's it. That's the end of the conversation. End of discussion. And that's what's making this whole situation crazy. So this mirrors what's happening in other entertainment areas. Y'all know this. Music, videos, halftime shows. The NFL is trying to stay culturally in step. But this is a problem. That's why this is a problem. This right here. So some of you, I'm sure, are pushing back right now while you're listening to me. And we'll get the comments in a minute. This is what's happening culturally. That we're allowing more men into spaces that are traditionally women, traditionally men, female. Notice, again, you don't see it happen the other way. You don't see women trying to get into men's spaces. You see men trying to get into women's spaces. Here's an issue, and I've heard there's somebody who said this. I've said it. Others have said it. But there's a guy whose name I can't say on here. Bald-headed guy who's used to be a kickboxer. That guy. I can't say his name. His name is literally banned by their AI bots on TikTok. I can't say his name. They'll give me a warning if I do. He said this, and I've said it as well, that in the male space, so let's just take all the men in the world. Let's just say that about 20% of those men are what some people nowadays call toxic masculine. And when I say toxic masculine, I don't actually mean there's anything wrong with them, because I would probably put myself in the group. Not probably, I would put myself in the group. 20% men. Some will call them, that guy whose name I can't say, he will call them top 20% men. Other would just say, let's just say 20%. So we only have to split hairs on that. These are men who are willing to say what needs to be said, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Willing to say it, even if they're the only one saying it in a room full of people who disagree with them. These are men who tend to be in pretty good physical shape. They are willing and able to be confrontational, physically and verbally. And they generally have their shit together. And women who tend to be leaning more feminine tend to gravitate towards these type of men. I say it's about 20% of men. Of all men in the world, 20% fit that description. The other 80%, depending on where in that 80% they fall, what has happened is those men have tried to figure out, what can we do about these 20% men? Because you got 2 options if you know you're not in that 20%. If you're in 80% of men and you're not in that 20, you got 2 choices. Choice A, let me figure out why I'm not in that 20% and do what I need to do to close the gap so I can join them. Or choice B, let me find a way to lessen their impact, lessen their value, make them look bad so that they have less influence on society. So men like me and 80% can actually matter more. Because the way it's traditionally been is that the 20% men had dominion over pretty much everything, because men can physically dominate over a woman. Men build society and protect society. And the other 80% of men can't do shit with the 20% of men. So if you were in that top 20%, things were great for you. And I'm using 20% just to keep it simple. Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule. But you can say 2%, you can say 1%, you can say 30%, let's just say 20. So that 80% of men said, we got to figure something out. What do we do? Here's what they decided to do. They decided to band together, first of all, and they had to come up with a reasonable sounding. They needed some plausible deniability, a reasonable sounding reason to go against this 20% men. They couldn't come out and say that. They couldn't come out and tell you the truth. The truth being, these men just outpace me in everything, so I'm mad at them, so let's find a way to pull them down. See, they can't say that. Then you look stupid. You would get ridiculed out of the room. So they had to find something that sounded good and made enough sense that other people could connect to it, and it would be all right. Now, these men, let's just say these 80% of men are actually attracted to women. I'm not talking gay guys. I'm talking heterosexual men who like women. Problem is they can't access the top women because the top 20% men, all the top women are looking at them. So they're having a problem with it. They got a problem with this. What do? Here's what they did. They went and found things that women didn't like about these top 20% men. They started echoing what the women were saying. And this is how feminism got wheels. So here's what you got to understand about feminism. Feminism doesn't get wheels unless men agree to it. If feminism was only women agreed with it and there were no men who agreed with feminism, there would be no feminism because feminism would not be able to stand up to challenge and pushback. Again, how is a group of women going to stand up to a challenge and pushback from a group of men? They can't. It wouldn't happen. Only reason feminism got steam and has gas in its tank is because there are men who agree with it. Now, who are these men? I just told you. They're men in that bottom 80%. Not all of them. Enough of them that feminism has some defense mechanisms. And the defense mechanism comes in the form of men. No nonsense that comes from a female or a group of females can stand up to challenge unless there is a man defending it, period. There has to be at least some men defending it in order for some nonsense to sustain. And that's how feminism got wheels. What does this have to do with anything that we're talking about here today? Is that when men, and this is when I say feminine energy men or feminized men, this is what I'm talking about. Men who come from that bottom 80 group, again, not all of them, because there's some in that bottom 80 group who are doing the work on themselves to get up to a higher level. But men who are in that group don't want to do the work to get into the higher level group, have decided that the people in the higher level group has something fundamentally wrong with them and have decided they want to find a way to go against them rather than try to become one of them. So what do? Okay, let's go see what the girls don't like about them, and I'll just co-sign what the girls said. Now all the girls are going to co-sign me, and because they're a man with testosterone, now I can defend what the girls say, and that will help give the girls' message some weight, and that gives me significance. So there are several ways to get significance. You want to have the tallest building in town. You can either build the biggest building in town, or you can tear down the biggest building so that now yours is the only one standing. And this is where it comes from, because men are not doing their job. So what does this have to do with what I'm saying? People are saying that this is culturally in step. This is what's happening culturally. So why wouldn't the NFL follow what culture is doing? Well, I just told you why. Western society is collapsing right now because of this nonsense. This nonsense of let's destroy the patriarchy. First of all, the patriarchy built this culture. The patriarchy built society. Let me be clear what I mean when I say the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a male-driven and male-led society, period. That's the patriarchy. Male-driven and male-led. Male drive and male leadership built the building that you're in right now. It built the devices you are watching me on right now. It built the clothes that you are wearing. Maybe not the clothes. Maybe a woman sewed the clothes. It built the roads that you are driving on. It built the building you may go into later. It built the weapons, tanks, and guns that will be used if anyone tries to invade or attack us. That's male. All of that is built by men. And if anyone tries to harm the society that we have today, you make a phone call to get some help. Who you calling? You ain't calling a woman. You calling a man. If this is someone trying to kick down your door and you're home by yourself as a female with your kids and you call the cops, who you want to show up? A female cop by herself, or you want a man cop? All of you know the answer. You want a man cop to show up. Why? Because a man has the testosterone and the physicality to deal with whoever that is at your door. Everyone understands this. The patriarchy is a society built, protected, and defended by men, period, and furthered by men. Our society moves forward is going to be because of men. Technology, men. Architecture, men. Infrastructure, men. Buildings, men. Defense, men. Police, men. The military, men. All that's built by men. People don't have a problem with the patriarchy. The patriarchy is the reason why you even have the freedom to talk about the patriarchy, because someone said it's okay for you to talk shit about the patriarchy, even though we built everything you got. How are you going to have a problem with the very thing that gave you the space to say the very thing that you're saying? It doesn't even make sense. You can't name a single matriarchal society that has survived in history. There hasn't been a single one. But what people are saying in the United States and the Western world, we need to try matriarchy because patriarchy already had its chance. Really? Patriarchy got us to where we're at. What are you talking about had its chance? There's no chance. A chance means somebody gave you something. The patriarchy was designed by your higher being, whoever you call that. You call it God, call it whatever you want to call it. There is not one religion in the world that said it started with a woman. And then the woman went and created, and then the higher being went and created a man to be a helpmeet to the woman. and then the woman was in charge, and then everything went from there. I never heard of that religion. If there is one, please tell me the name of it in the comments. I ain't never heard of it. From what I hear, again, whatever religion you follow, even if you follow none, we all believe, we all agree, it started with a man, a male with a penis. That's where it started, with a male. The woman was there to be support system to the man. And it's still that way. That's what the patriarchy is. There's no problem with the patriarchy. And again, none of you really have a problem with the patriarchy. So you take away all the men and it's just women. What are you going to do when a group of men decide they want to come to your land and take it? What you going to do? Fight? How you going to do that? With no men? There's no answer to that question. So saying that culturally this is what's happening, that's why we should follow it, is bullshit. This is entropy. When you remove standards and you start lowering standards and blurring black and white lines, you get chaos. That is a science. This is science. This is Dr. Fauci. Follow the science. Okay? Science says chaos is the only possible byproduct of a removal of standards and parameters. If a standard and parameter is this is for women, and you start blurring that line, you're going to get chaos. That's what we have now. That's why we're having this conversation, because we have chaos. The NFL has historically leaned into a brand of what the NFL is. What is football? Football is a sport for toughness and physical dominance. I mean, besides direct combat fighting, where you're literally hitting each other, the next toughest sport that requires that you're signing up to get hit is sports like football, rugby, lacrosse. I would even say football even more, because football, there are people hitting each other every single play, the offensive and defensive linemen. Every play you're hitting each other as hard as you can for 10 years straight. All right. The NFL's brand is about physical toughness, physical dominance. You win a football game by physically dominating your opponent. That's traditionally how football has worked. Now, it's become a lot more soft these days and a lot more flash, and you can't hit anymore. You can't hit the quarterback. You can't knock the quarterback's head off. You can't hit wide receivers. You can't hit anybody anymore. So football has gotten soft, but it's still very popular. And what the NFL is doing right now is clashing with the identity that they have built over the years. This is Kentucky grilled chicken right here. That's what this is. It probably won't have as catastrophic effects, but y'all remember Kentucky grilled chicken? When KFC said we're going to be healthy now and we're not going to sell fried chicken anymore, we're going to sell grilled chicken. That's what this is. This is, and hockey as well. Hockey is another good one to mention. Thank you for mentioning that. 7 Outlaw. This is KGC, what the NFL is doing right now. Again, it's not going to have that big of an impact because it's only the cheerleaders. But it's coming that it's going to get worse. I'm predicting that this is going to get worse. If they could take this step and it becomes accepted, 12 teams have men on the cheerleading squad. I didn't know that. And I don't think this is the first year I don't think they all hired somebody this year. They were already on the team, just we didn't know. And it's only a matter of time before it's 15 and 19 and 25, then all the teams have a man on the team. And it's only a matter of time, ladies, those of you who are young enough, those of you who have daughters who are into cheerleading. Any of you got daughters who are into cheerleading? Put me in the comments. Any of you have a daughter who's a competitive cheerleader, right? Or like the showy cheerleader. I don't know what you call those. The ones who swing the pom-poms at the games. Then you got like the competitive cheerleaders, like where they go to competitions, and those competitions are big deals. So any of you who have girls who are competitive cheerleaders who may one day want to be on a pro team, and I don't know if all of you know this, but a woman being on a professional sports team's cheer team or dance team is like a big mark on their resume. Like, I was a cheerleader for the Dolphins. I was a cheerleader for the Miami Heat. I was a Laker girl. That's a big deal to get that on your resume, to say that you did that. And it's only a matter of time if they keep going in this direction, ladies and men who have maybe daughters who are in the cheer, that going out for the cheerleading squad on a pro sports team, it used to be 30 jobs. It's going to be 15 because half of them going to men, half of them going to girls. That's where it's going. Sideline cheer. Okay, yes. Sideline cheer. Okay. I didn't know what it was called. Yes, the sideline cheer. Shout out to the sideline cheers. They were sideline cheerleaders when I went to college. I knew some of them. And then you got the competitive cheerleaders. But it's coming a matter of time when only half the team is going to be girls. So instead of you trying out for the team and knowing that there's 30 spots for you to get, young lady, now there's 15 spots for you to get because half of them are going to men. That's where it's going. I don't know if it's ever going to get to a point that men completely take over, but hey, stranger things have occurred. So some say that this offers another pipeline for male dancers to work professionally at a higher level and it broadens their career opportunities. I say, miss me with this nonsense. That sounds good. That's corporate brochure speak. I'm not corporate. I'm not a fan of the corporate brochure nonsense. That's where this is another career lane for male dancers to work professionally at a higher level. All right, you can find another lane besides stepping into a woman's lane. I say this to men, heterosexual men, and homosexual men, actually, all men. If you can't find a place to make yourself valuable where you have to beat out a man for a role, so instead you decide to go beat out a woman and take a role from a woman, that's just not manly. It's not respected. I don't respect that behavior. I'm not saying I don't respect you as a person because I may not know you. I don't respect the activity of a man going into a space that is dominated by women and trying to gain his significance through getting into a space that's dominated by women. Because if you're a man and you have any level of testosterone flowing through you, you want to achieve, conquer, defeat, compete. You want to do those things because that's what testosterone drives men to do. But you want to do it by beating somebody who's worthy of being beat. I don't want to get in a competition where I'm only competing against women and win. What did I actually do? And again, it's not saying that the women can't be good. I want to get in a competition against men who I have to actually, they are good enough to beat me and I beat them. That's competition. That's what testosterone drives men to do. Not to go to a space where it's me and a bunch of women and I beat the women. I beat out the women. And cheer is a competitive thing, in case any of you didn't know. If there's 30 girls on the cheerleading squad, 100 girls trot out. Probably 200 girls trot out. And you ever seen those videos where they have like the cheerleading teams and everybody's trying out for the cheerleading teams? It's 200 women trying out for that team. This is a big deal to be on the team. Be a dancer for the Miami Heat. It's a big deal to get on that team. 200 girls try out for the team. 25 make the team. So I'm a man. I'm going to go in there and beat out the girls. Again, it doesn't mean you don't got to be good at dancing. But fundamentally, I'm saying at a fundamental hormonal level, how are you trying to gain your significance by beating girls, beating women, girls, women, females, period, as a man? It's just not manly. I don't respect the behavior. And other men should be willing and able to check men on that. So some see this as a quote unquote solution to a problem that's never existed. Again, no fan was ever asking for, hey, we're the male cheerleaders. I don't see that. I never heard that. I never heard anybody saying, hey, mommy, we're the male cheerleaders. I see the cheerleaders, but there's no men. It's all girls. No, because that's the space. That's how it is. You don't watch the football game and say, where's the girls on the football field? Nobody says that. All right, there's a girls football league over there. All right, it's about 10% of the fans are at that game. You want to go to that one? Okay, we go over there. Or we can stay over here with 50,000 people watching the men. Why? Because they're the best. So some say that this may appeal to younger, more progressive audiences who expect diversity in performance roles. I say this is bullshit. More progressive audiences who expect diversity in performance roles. See, this kind of language, this is what is collapsing Western society. This kind of stuff right here is, oh, we want diversity for the sake of diversity. We want, so we got this space and it's mostly white people. We got to bring in some black people. Why? Because the black people are going to help the performance. They're going to make it better. No. Oh, we just got to bring them in just so we can say we got some black people. I don't want to be that black person. Don't bring me in for that. Bring me in because I can actually perform. I just happen to be black. Oh, let's bring in some gay people. Let's bring in some, we got mostly men. Let's bring in some women. No, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with diversity for the sake of diversity. And DEI that's what it is. Now, yes, if you look at the corporate brochure definition of what they're doing, they make it sound like, well, we bring in diversity because different voices and different perspectives can help us perform at a higher level. But is that really the reason that you're doing it? Because if that's the case, you can have a whole bunch of white people with different perspectives and different backgrounds. You can have 30 white people in the room who all have different perspectives, different backgrounds. You got some liberals, you got some conservatives, you got some people on the left, some people on the right, some people who went to college, some people who didn't go to college, but they're all white. That is still diverse if your diversity is actually about thought, because two white people don't have the same thoughts just because they're both white. Is this true, white people? Please co-sign white people in the comments. Give me co-sign in the comments. I'm not white, so let me not speak for white people. Put the word co-sign in the comments if you agree as a white person that not all white people think alike just because you're white. I think that's the case. I know it's true for black people, but let me ask for the white people. Okay, so diversity, when they say diversity, equity, and inclusion, why does diversity have to be by skin color? Because we know that's why they did it. It's not about diversity of thought, because if it was diversity of thought, you could have 50 white people, you could have 1,000 white people and have plenty of diversity because they all think different. Again, all white people don't think the same. So why does diversity have to be skin color? You could have a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of different skin colors, but they all lean progressive and they all lean politically to the left. That's not diversity. Only diversity you got is skin color. What kind of diversity is that? So when people ask me about DEI and my fundamental challenges to the concept, I just gave you one of them right there, or at least when it comes to the D. And the rest, pause. The rest we can talk about another time. I've done entire videos on that concept as well, in case any of you didn't know. So this progressive audience who expects diversity in performance roles, I say, what kind of diversity are you expecting? I expect diversity too. If I go to a Miami Dolphins football game, I don't go to these kind of events, but if I went to a Miami Dolphins football game, I want diversity in my performance roles. You know what I want? I want a quarterback who can throw passes. I want a running back who can get yards. I want an offensive lineman who can block. I want a wide receiver who can catch. I want linebackers who can make tackles, safeties who can prevent big plays, cornerbacks who can stick with wide receivers, a kicker who can actually make field goals, a coach who knows how to call plays, the water boy knows how to squeeze the Gatorade into the players' mouths, pause, and that's what I want, diversity of performance. I don't care if they're all black. They can be all white. They can be all Latin. No matter. Performance diversity, not color diversity, not gender diversity, performance diversity, meaning the actual performers. On the New York Knicks, we need a 7-foot guy who can protect the rim. We need a point guard who can dribble. We need some wing players who can make three-pointers and play good defense. We need some dynamic scorers who can go one-on-one and get an open shot for somebody else or for themselves. We need defenders who can lock down the scorers on the other team. That's performance diversity. I don't care if all of those guys are black guys. Nobody's complaining that we don't have a white guy on the team. Why? Because the performance is about what helps us achieve the outcome, not what allows us to check the box so that we can meet some damn corporate quota. This is what the NFL is doing. And again, I told you, NFL is corporate, in case any of you didn't know. NFL is very corporate. This is why they're doing this. So this also risks alienating longtime fans who see the sideline as part of the sport's traditional atmosphere is not a place for social experimentation. This is the problem that the NFL is going to run into. This is what they're doing wrong. Now, again, this is not going to cause a bunch of people to cancel their season tickets. That's not going to happen, at least not now. But they're taking a step in the wrong direction. Similar to when Sports Illustrated, they put out their swimsuit issue every year. Y'all know about Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. They gotten back to being more sensible these days. But for about 3 or 4 years, Sports Illustrated started experimenting with the swimsuit issue. And they started putting old women on there, women 60, 70 years old. That's not what people want to see when they see SI swimsuit. They were putting fat women on there, obese women on there who did not fit the mold of what I expect when I look at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. They were putting men who are cosplaying as women on there, which is not what I want when I go to Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. It's not that these humans are not allowed to exist. It's not that they're not allowed to put on bathing suits. It's not that there may not be somebody in the world who thinks that those people are attractive, who I just described. All of those things are true. Let's be clear what business is about. You establish yourself, you establish a brand, you establish an approach, you establish a style, and you say to your audience, subscribe to my magazine, buy tickets to my game, follow me on social media, because this is what you're going to get. And then you go and flip the script on them after they already signed up for the thing. You said you were going to give them this, and now you start giving me something else. That is a problem. I have a fundamental issue with that. You sold me on this, and you gave me that. That's called a bait and switch. Now, I want my money back. You said, Sports Illustrated, for 50 years, you put out one issue every year with a bunch of skinny, pretty girls in two-piece bikinis in a magazine. You put a whole magazine of skinny, pretty girls in two-piece bikinis. That was what you did for 50 years. Now, all of a sudden, you want to give me a woman who's 300 pounds. Now you want to give me a paraplegic who has no legs. Now you want to give me a man who is posing as a woman. Now you want to give me some 70-year-old woman who is on the cover. Why? Now you want to give me that? That's not what I signed up for. Our unspoken agreement is that this is what I get when a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue comes out. And I want to see 100 pages of skinny, pretty girls in thongs. That's what I want to see. Now you give me a woman who's 300 pounds, but she carries it well. What? That's not what I signed up for. That's not what I signed up for. In the NFL, this is their problem. You're alienating your longtime fans. We want to see brutality on the field by men who signed up to beat each other up. And I want to see pretty girls in between the first quarter and the second quarter, then the third quarter, and at halftime and the fourth quarter. And during the game, they're doing the cheers while the running back is gaining 5 yards and I'm not even noticing them. That's what I want. That's what I signed up for. Why are you messing up the program that already works? NFL has no problems. Well, generally, they have no problem. NFL is the strongest professional sport in the world by far. Strongest professional team sport in the world by far in the United States, let me say. I won't even get into internationally. You got soccer teams who are pretty strong too, but that's soccer leagues that are strong. Let's just say in the United States of America, team sports, the NFL is the strongest. They outpace the NBA, who is much more global. It still outpaces the NBA. They outpace Major League Baseball. They outpace hockey easily. Why are you messing with the program, NFL? Why? Are they not paying attention? Are they not reading the room? If they were reading the room, they would see Trump just won in 2024. So there's my Donald Trump mention right there. Trump won in 2024. It let everybody know, it's a clear signal to everybody that pushing back against this progressive, or what some people may call woke, what some people may call far leftist ideologies, is okay. Trump winning was a loud and clear signal from the America as a whole that we are pushing back on the nonsense. We as all of America. I'm not talking about any particular group. All of America, it's okay to push back. Because if people really were done with the quote unquote toxic masculine, how do you explain Donald Trump winning an election? If you want to talk about a toxic masculine man, there's one right there. The country just voted for him. So it was a clear signal that it's okay. Now the NFL is going to go put a man on the cheerleading squad. What are you doing? Are you not reading the room, NFL? They're not reading the room. So this adds, some say it adds variety to sideline entertainment, breaks up the visual monotony of the same routines every week. Let me ask you a question. Men in the room. Men in the room. How many of you, put yes or no in the comments, how many of you are tired of seeing skinny, fit, pretty women dancing? How many of you are tired of that and you need to see a man doing it to get a change of pace? That's what this point is. That you add variety to the sideline. Put yes if you need to change the pace. You're tired of seeing skinny, fit, pretty women dancing, and you need to see a man so that you can break up the monotony of all the pretty girls. But put no if you rather just keep seeing them. You're okay with the monotony of a bunch of pretty girls dancing. Put the word no. So this is one of these points. This is one of these dumb points that people make. Well, it's monotony. It's been the same thing. This whole thing of tradition, right? People say we got to break up traditions. It's old. This is something we've been doing forever. Why don't we do something new? I didn't see a single man in here leave a comment that says we need to break up skinny, fit, pretty girls dancing and we need men instead, because the tradition is girls. So how about we just change it to men? Let's just do that. Let's just let men dance so we get a change of pace. I ain't heard anybody say that. No, I ain't seen a single man say that yet. So this gives the NFL a talking point on inclusivity, and already trashed diversity. Let's talk about inclusivity. Inclusivity means letting more people into a room. I've explained this 30 times in the past. I'll explain it again here today. When you make a place more inclusive, when it was traditionally exclusive, you lower the value of the room. By definition, you lower the value of the room. What makes a room valuable is the fact that not everybody can get in the room. That's the way it works. A room is valuable when not everybody can get in it. It's one of the oldest dynamics of moving humans to action is us versus them. All of you have heard of us versus them. Us versus them is something that has been biologically proven that people are more likely to want to be part of a group, or let me say it this way, they more highly value being part of a group that they know not everybody is a part of. When you know you're part of a group that not everybody can be in, you value that group more. Why? Because you know that you're doing something that not everybody else is doing. If you're part of a group that everybody can be a part of, you may appreciate it, but it's not the same. This is the reason why participation trophies are a bad idea, because if everybody knows that everybody else got a trophy too, then what's the point of the trophy? You might as well not give out anything. Now, I get it. You're giving it out to 6-year-olds to a point. But at a certain point, now it's you got to do something to get a trophy. All right, we ain't doing that no more. Now you got to do something to get a trophy, son. All right, you didn't win, you don't get a trophy. Yeah, I know you're crying. I'll get you some ice cream. But now and tomorrow we're going to go back to the field, the court, or the gym so you can work on your game. So next time you actually win a trophy by beating people, not getting a trophy just because you showed up. We ain't playing that game no more. You're too old. Inclusivity lowers value. Period. Just as a general point. Inclusivity lowers value. Why? Because the more people you let into the room, the less value it is. The more people you let sit at the table, the less valuable the table. When only certain people can sit at the table, that table is valuable. Speaking of sports teams, when you were in college, those of you who went to college, who were the most respected groups? football team, basketball team, all the sports teams, the frats, and the sororities. Why? Because everybody can't be in. You got to earn your way in. You got to earn your way into a sorority. I think you got to earn your way into a frat. You got to pledge or rush or whatever they call it, and you got to earn your way in. The people who are in get to decide whether you get in or you don't. So you have to earn your way into that group. And when you're part of the group, you're somebody because you made it. Football team, basketball team, soccer team, golf team, hockey team, lacrosse team, swim team. They matter because not everybody can be on the team. That's the reason why when they have a game, people come and watch. Why? Because it's valuable, because you know that not everybody can be on that team. So for them to be on the team, they got to have done something that everybody else didn't do. That's value. When I was in college, we would go to frat parties. If we could get into they had a frat party that was open, we would go to the frat parties. Why would we go to the frat parties? Because all the sorority girls would be at the frat parties. And they looked up to the frat guys the same way that other people looked up to the athletes. The frat guys and the athletes are, on some college campuses, they're pretty much equal in status. Why? Because you got to do something to be a part of it. If you didn't do it, you can't be in. You're on the outside looking in. You know what that's known as? Being on the outside looking in? Anybody know what it's called? It's called exclusivity. Being on the outside looking in is called exclusivity. When you have a group that not everybody can be a part of, therefore it increases the value of that group. That is exclusion. Exclusion increases value. So the NFL is saying that we are trying to get a point for inclusion. You're watering down your own product. And cheerleading is part of the product of the NFL. You're watering down the product by making it more inclusive. No, what you should do is make it more exclusive. That would make it more valuable. So, potential backlash could overshadow any intended inclusivity message. This conversation right now happening is a example of that, making it a more divisive rather than a unifying feature. I think that is pretty much true. All that said, everybody, I did a lot on the content here today. We are going to have conversation. I want to open the floor for comments. I know some of your comments that you left very early probably got pushed out here, but I'm going to open the floor for comments. Something I do need to do, since I went an hour and a half here without a break, I must take a restroom break. So I need y'all to talk amongst yourselves for 90 seconds. I'm going to go to the restroom, then I'm going to come back and we're going to address questions. So everybody wait right here for one moment. Please like the live. Give me to 100,000 likes during this 90-second intermission. I'll be right back, and then we're going to answer questions. We are back. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Let's get into the commentary. Let's see. Over on YouTube, Dog, not from Minutes. Good morning. Jay Tundra said they're planting the seeds for more BS to grow. They're going to be wearing Pride uniforms by next year, and it won't be Pride Month. It'll be Pride Year. That I see where you're going with that. I get your point. Hopefully, they don't do that. They may eventually read the tea leaves and find out what's actually happening out here. I hope that they do. I want the NFL to ruin this product. I'm not even a football player. I'm not even that big of a football fan. But I don't want them to ruin their product in the name of trying to chase the headlines, trying to follow what's popular. That's not a good idea. Let's see what we got going on in the comments. Michelle said, I like a manly man, get men out of my space. That's right. That's a man's job, is to keep men out of spaces that belong to women. Murphy said, I don't even want to see or listen to a female reporter on the sideline unless the girl's playing. Now, the female sideline reporters it's a fine change of pace simply because their job is just to be a sideline reporter. If the woman's just a sideline reporter, she tells you, your starting running back got injured and he went back to the locker room and the tests were negative and he plans to be back for the second half of the game. I don't mind a girl giving me that report. I mean, I don't mind there being a woman doing that. Actually, that's okay to give women a role. It's fine to give women a role if you're asking them to do something like that, being in a supporting role. The sideline reporter is a supporting role. Now, what I would say to you is that what you don't want is the woman doing the damn play-by-play if she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. This is where you get the Doris Burke in the NBA. I don't want to hear her talking. Now, if she was just a sideline reporter telling me, hey, Kyrie Irving, he twisted his ankle, but he went back to the locker room. He got a little bit of treatment, and he'll be back out in 5 minutes. I don't mind Doris Burke giving me that report. Now, I don't want Doris Burke doing a play-by-play trying to inform me about basketball when she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. That I don't want. But sideline reporters I'm okay with. Hello, Tracy Rose said, I appreciate those spaces. Me too. I appreciate spaces that are just for women. So women have their spaces for them, men have their spaces for them, and then there's spaces for everybody together. Melissa said, cheerleading is a women's sport, period. Yes, I believe it's a woman's domain. It's a woman's domain is what I would say. There are men who cheer, but again, there's a certain type of man. Is the man with the muscles lifting the girls up, and he helps the girls do more acrobatic tricks because he can throw them and he can catch them and he can do stuff that you can't have a girl doing. That picture I showed you, the man holding up 2 girls, 1 in each hand. I don't know, it's too many women who can do that. So the man has a role, but he understands where he's at. HLV said the men cheerleaders aren't going in women's locker rooms. Yes, I understand that. Carla said, not only do I appreciate women's only spaces, I seek them out. Yes, both women and men need spaces that are just for women or just for men. Again, men don't have to tell women to stay out of their shit. Men have to tell women. Women need to tell men. And when a woman tells a man, another man needs to check that man who's trying to come in and say, yo, what the hell are you doing? Get out of here. Well, Heck said, I was a teacher in a mostly female space, so I like having men around. Well, in teaching, that's fine, because teaching is the domain of anybody who's capable and willing to teach. But we're talking about places that have traditionally gone to one role for a certain reason. Michelle said, why is it always men trying to take over women's space, not the other way around? Yeah, well, I explained that, Michelle. Biologically, there's a reason for that. A woman can't take over a man's space because she can't physically defend herself if the men push back. A man can do it to a woman because he can physically overpower a woman as a general rule. Woman can't overpower a man, so women can't take over anything that men have, but men can take over anything that women have. This is the reason why you've never seen a female-dominated society that thrived and lasted, because if it did any good, a bunch of men would just come along and take it. Bronson Rose, thanks for the follow. Forever Evolving Faith said, that's your choice. Those who choose to progress should have that freedom to do so. Well, how do you define progress? Forever Evolving Faith, give me your definition of progress. Saying let's allow men into women's spaces that is not progress to me. If you consider that to be progress, then we have a fundamental difference. Cookie said, just because it's old doesn't mean it's wrong. Not everything needs to be reimagined. That's exactly. And that's why this whole concept of change. Remember people talking about the movement for change? That's a bullshit frame. Change just to say that you changed is not a good idea, because you might start changing things just so you can check a box. Yeah, we did something. We changed something. This is what happens when you start getting bureaucracies, when you start getting bloated staff, is that you have people who have to do something so they feel like they're worthy of their paycheck. So they just start coming up with ideas and then executing on them just because they're trying to justify their own existence. So this is where you get change for the sake of change. Forever Evolving said, cheerleading originated as a male activity, not a good example. Well, it's a great example. I don't know if that's true, what you're saying here. Let's look that up and find out if it's true. Even if what you're saying is true, what the hell does that have to do with what I'm talking about, which is cheerleading today is a female-dominated space. We all can agree to that. Somebody on my live on TikTok said cheerleading originated as a male activity. Is this true? And if so, give me some context. So we'll find out if that's actually true. But even if it is, as I said, today, cheerleading is a female-dominated space. We know that. But don't spam my comments, Forever Evolving. I saw it the first time you said it. Michelle said, I'm trying to debate with one of my viewers, one of your viewers. Cool. PXX said, blue collar women. What about them? Live Free said, Dre, they do. This has a woman empire in Major League Baseball. Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. The woman empire. Umpire. Nah, I'm not a fan of that either. Shorty said, I was even uncomfortable in the accounting club in college with all men. I left. Yeah, I can understand it. Now, if you went back to college right now, they probably would change that up real quick, just to make it more quote unquote diverse. Forever Evolving said, women settle conflict far better than a man ever can. Well, Forever, you're free to have that opinion, but if there's an actual conflict, the bottom line of resolution of conflict Forever Evolving is physical violence. It's not talking. So you can say that, but the bottom line of conflict, if it cannot be resolved in any other way, is what? War. War is politics by other means. And you've never seen an army full of women defeat an army full of men. They wouldn't even try. And there's a reason they wouldn't try. So your comment sounds good if you're talking to a bunch of feminists, but it doesn't pass the real life test. It never has. So you enjoyed my son's cameo appearance. Outlaw says, sure, women do. The military, firefighters, mechanics are all traditionally men jobs that women do. Yes, they're still men jobs. Military, firefighter, mechanic, if I told you to imagine one of those, most of you would imagine a man. And if I hire a mechanic, I want a man sliding under my car and fixing it. You can call that sexist if you want. I want a man doing it. If my house is on fire, I want a man going in there to save my cat. I don't have a cat, but you get my point. If our country goes to war, I want a whole bunch of men on the front line, not a woman. And the men go on the front line and fight. Why? So that they can come back home to their women waiting for them to thank them for defending the country. That's the roles that we have been assigned. Biologically, we've been assigned those roles. Maddie said, I had no time for anyone until I eat cake too. Love that little logical man. I don't think he's eating cake. Smells like bacon and eggs to me. I think he eats cake after he has his breakfast. He can't be starting the day with cake. That can't happen. Ocean Love said, why hasn't the NFL had a woman commissioner? The commissioner changes so infrequently. It might be a while before that happens. Doc said, why are people reacting as if this is the first male cheerleader? Have you not watched college? Dancing with the pom-poms, Doc? I'm not talking about the strong guy with the muscles. I'm talking about the pom-poms. That's what we're talking about here today. Coconut Telegraph said, my neighbor was a male cheerleader in college, loved the women. I'm sure he did. Was he heterosexual? If you're talking about the male cheerleaders with the muscles, that's a beautiful job to have. Again, I wouldn't do it, but I get it. I completely understand a man doing that job. Forever said, it's wild to use a sport that originated as a male sport. No, it's not. Things evolve over time. How many of us look at cheerleading? When I say cheerleader, I just showed you all an example. When I went to Grok and said, give me a team of cheerleaders, y'all see the prompt right there. A team of cheerleaders. What would they show me? Did they show you males? Does Grok give me a history lesson and say, hey, Dre, cheerleading started as a male thing? Nobody says that because nobody cares. The point is, cheerleading is a female-dominated thing. So Forever Evolving, you want to keep pulling on that thread, and you got to come with some other substance if you want some more engagement here. Brandon said this is a non-issue. No, it is an issue. It's an issue. And that what you just said there, Brandon, I don't know if you did it on purpose, but this is how progressives and people who are sowing chaos in our society, this is how they're able to they're able to sneak in their nonsense that becomes bigger nonsense. Is that when you bring it up, the small thing, hey, as a male on a cheerleader squad, there's 30 cheerleaders and there's one man. I got a problem with that. When somebody like me brings that up, here's what they do. What they do is they use the relative privation fallacy on you by saying this is a non-issue. This is not important. There are more important things in life than that. Why are you focusing on this? Why do you even care? Why are you talking about it? Notice they always use that kind of language. Why they use that language is to make it seem like you are crazy for pointing it out because it's such a small, inconsequential thing that nobody should care about. And then they get you to shut up. Then next year is 3 men on the team. Then there's 10. Then there's half of the team is men. And then you say something and they're like, well, hey, look, half the team is men. What you going to do? Stop it? What are you going to do? Go against it? What are you going to do? Get all the men off the team? Half the team is men. You should just accept it because this obviously is normal because they shut you up when it was a small thing. This is the way they're able to sneak in their nonsense. They get you to say okay to a little thing or ignore a little thing or not talk about a little thing then it becomes a big thing, and then it becomes so big that you can't argue against it because it's too big and it's too firmly entrenched and established already. So Brandon, again, I don't know if you were trying to do that, but I'm just using your comment as an example because a lot of people do that. They do it on purpose. I don't know if you're doing it on purpose. Ocean Love said they want to make things equal and bring down the masculine successful men. It's not even so much about successful. It's about the top performing men, because you can be successful and still be in the bottom 80%. So it's how do you compare to other men? Success is relative. It depends on who else is in the room. So you go to LA Fitness. If I go to LA Fitness and play basketball, I'll be better than everybody in there. But if I go to the Miami Heat's practice and play basketball, I'll be the worst player in there. And so it just depends on who you're around. It depends on the environment. Carla said, the feminism of today is ridiculous. True feminism said, what women bring to the table is appreciated. Yes, that's right. So they have hijacked the concept. Moni Simon says, so basically we need men to save us from men. Well, strong man of the day, first of all. Moni Simon, congratulations. Moni Simon, she used the so tell. Strong man is a common logical fallacy. I got to explain this every day. That people use when they take something you said, they rephrase it into something that you didn't say. Then they represent it to you in the form of either a joke or something to ridicule or some form of sarcasm or some form of righteous indignation. Moni chose sarcasm. So she said, so basically, that's all often to tell for straw man. Someone's about to rephrase your verbiage when they say so basically. We need men to save us from men. Well, first of all, who's us? And secondly, you're not being saved from men. You need men, period. You should have just ended it with we need men, period. That you would have been accurate. And it wouldn't have been a straw man. Still would have been somewhat of a straw man, but not really. You should have just said we need men. Because all of us need men. Men need men. Women need men. Men built society. So Moni Simon, whatever device you typed that comment on was made by a man. The Wi-Fi that you are using or the data plan you're using to listen to me right now was strung up and maintained by a man. The fact that you're able to be on TikTok at 9:30 in the morning Eastern on a Friday being sarcastic about men is defended by men. Because if there was a man who really didn't like what you said, he decided to come kick in your door and kick your ass because he didn't like what you said, who would you call to help you or who would you want to help you? Probably a man. So everything that you have the freedom and the right to say and do these days is defended, was created, defended, and protected, and will be further advanced by a man. So your sarcasm, I see what you're doing. I see what you're saying. You're not the first person I've heard say something of that that rhymes with that, but no, cut it out. Forever said every great empire has fallen. I agree with that. Yes, they all have. And when they fall, it's men who make them fall. It's never been women. And an empire of men who stop being men because they start listening to women, they'll be the one that falls. Carlos said, follow the science. Yes, exactly. Thanks for the share, XTR. Madam Jones, thank you for the follow. So sideline cheers, the other one, yes. Carlos said, because the men will be able to do more stunts. Yes, I've seen them, man. They run and they do flips and they do all kinds of stuff. Aaron said, why are you fixated on a cheer team? LOL. So here is another straw man. This is an appeal to ridicule and a straw man together by Aaron. So Aaron, congratulations on the Straw Man of the Day Award number 2. And this is another thing that people use. Fixated, they use words like fixated or obsessed or why do you care? What is that? That is a form of ridicule, is appeal to ridicule to make it seem like you are somehow like crazy or something's wrong with you mentally because you are focusing on a certain subject that they don't want you to focus on. So what they do is they talk about the way you're talking about it as if you are going overboard or you're putting too much emphasis on the subject as a way of making it seem like you're wrong so that you stop talking about it. It's a way of trying to pull out the rug from under you so that you won't talk about a subject. So then when it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you finally say something, they're like, well, it's normal now. Why are you talking about it? So they'll use a different form of the same argument against you later on down the line. And Aaron also added in the LOL. So he added in this is the ridicule form of the straw man, where someone repackages what you're doing or saying. And he says, he calls it fixation. Me talking about this subject is a fixation. Me just talking about it. But if I talk about Donald Trump, that's not a fixation. If I talk about it in a way that you like, would it be a fixation? If I was agreeing with the male cheerleaders, Aaron, would it be a fixation? Probably not. So people only use this language when they disagree with what you say. Not because they disagree with you talking about it. They just disagree with what you're saying about it. Because if I had the exact opposite argument, the same people in here using the straw man against me would be using the straw man to defend me. So people who use these logical fallacies tend to use them all the time, whether they agree or disagree, but it depends on what they're talking about. Forever Evolving said, you sound ridiculous speaking on the sport you uneducated about. Well, first of all, you sound ridiculous with this improper grammar. And I know you are leaving these comments that don't have a lot of substance. I haven't addressed, I've seen some you listed that I didn't respond to. But first of all, I can't sound ridiculous because you've been listening to me for 2 hours. So if I really sounded ridiculous, Forever Evolving Faith, you would just leave and not leave any more comments. But you're commenting because you want response. So if you really thought I sounded ridiculous, you wouldn't be talking to me, or nor would you be watching. Secondly, I'm speaking on football is the sport that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about cheerleading as a sport. I'm talking about football because the cheerleaders exist. These kind of cheerleaders, sideline cheer was what we're talking about here. Sideline cheer exists because men are playing sports. I played the sport professionally for nearly a decade. So not only I'm not quote unquote educated about the sport, I know it because I've actually played it. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about here is the principalities of what's happening, not about the intricacies of the sport. I'm not talking about here's how you do a somersault, here's how you do a round off, here's how you throw a girl up in the air, and here's how you put your hands when you're up in the air with the man holding you up. That would be talking about a sport. That's not what I'm doing here. And what you're attempting to do, I understand what you're attempting to do, is you're trying to shift the land from talking about the principalities to the details of the sport. What we're talking about here today is not the details of actually doing cheerleading. And everybody who's been listening to me for the last nearly 2 hours pretty much understands that. What you're using here is what we call a Socratic trap, which is when someone makes a statement or a question that would subtly or very obviously shift the terrain of the conversation from the actual topic to something in which they feel like they would have more of an advantage. Then they try to trip you up by bringing up that topic. And it is a way of undermining you and trying to hurt your credibility with the audience. So nice try for Ever Evolving Faith. But as I tell everybody every day when I'm pointing out these logical fallacies, I'm too good at this. Your bullshit doesn't work over here. But you're welcome to keep trying. All right, it's fun for me. It's like playing whack-a-mole. So anyway, it'd be like somebody saying, I remember one day I was talking about the Department of Education. Months ago, I was talking about the Department of Education. And somebody came in, they were talking about special education, like the details of special education classes. And they were saying, well, you don't know how the special education system works, so you shouldn't be talking about the Department of Education. I'm like, what the hell does one have to do with the other? Just because I'm not talking about a specific detail of the bigger topic does not mean I cannot talk about the bigger topic. That'd be like somebody saying, I think LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. They would be wrong. But let's just say somebody said that. And then the person responded by saying, well, explain the triangle offense. Explain how a motion offense works. Explain how to run a pick and roll. And if the person couldn't answer the question, then you say, well, since you can't explain the triangle offense, you're not allowed to talk about Michael Jordan. That's a Socratic trap. That's a trap. Just because someone cannot talk about a specific, cannot or does not or chooses not, let me be clear, about a certain detail of a bigger picture issue does not mean they cannot talk about the bigger picture issue. I think I'm pretty clear on exactly what I'm talking about here today. And if I wasn't, there wouldn't be 100 plus people in here still 2 hours in. According to TikTok, just today alone, I've had almost 2,000 viewers here. So if I really didn't know what I was talking about, then you wouldn't still be here. So I would invite you to try again, but you probably shouldn't try again. Ocean Love said, the NFL wants diversity for the sake of diversity. Why don't they put some women on the team? Because the women get their heads knocked off. See, on a cheerleading team, there's no risk. They put them on the field, they can get demolished. Terica Martin, thank you for the cosign. So a bunch of you, when I was asking the white people, yes, everybody understands this. Seven Outlaw said, I'm white. You can speak for me. We are both men and we agree mostly with each other. Well, I appreciate that, Outlaw, but I won't speak for you because I'm not white. So if I'm going to make a comment about what white people would agree to or how a white person would think, I'm going to ask a white person to speak for themselves. I will offer my theory, but I got to get confirmation from someone who's actually white. Same way I would with a female. I wouldn't try to speak for another group if I'm not part of that group. That's just a principle of mine. Jason said, you looking for a participation trophy. What does that mean? What are you referring to? Don't understand your comment. Forever Evolving said, when people who are more qualified don't get the job because they are not a white male, then what? Well, let's just assume that this happens. I say, then you go apply for a different job. And the previous issue, though, undermining this conclusive, assumptive question, is that what makes you qualified? Qualification is subjective. So if you think you're qualified for a job and you don't get it, does that mean you were actually qualified just because you said it? Not really. And even if you are qualified for a job and somebody beats you out for it, does that mean you were done wrong? No. The NBA, for example, there can be, let's say, 12 people on a roster. And let's say there are 20 guys who try out for the team. And out of that 20, 15 are really, really good basketball players. Like they're all good enough, quote unquote, to be in the NBA. That means you're going to have at least 3 highly disappointed people because they are, quote unquote, qualified to be on the team, but they didn't make it. Why? Because the team is exclusive, only 12 spots. That's what makes the team valuable because only 12 people can make it. So just because you consider yourself to be qualified for a position does not mean you deserve it, doesn't guarantee you're going to get it, and you might still get beat up by somebody who is also qualified. They just beat you up. Welcome to life. That's the way it works. Jason, you're spamming my comments. You're going to get blocked. Chad Stir said, nobody cares. He's 300 pounds. Well, but you should have heard the comments when that Sports Illustrated cover came out. There were men saying it. Because the woman was in her face from the neck up. She was pretty. She was physically, face up, neck up, She was a pretty woman, but she was also 300 pounds. Now, she wasn't wearing a 2-piece. She was wearing a 1-piece, which was smart of her. But I don't want to see it on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And listen, maybe she has a husband and men who love her and want to take her on dates. I'm sure she does. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I'm sure she has plenty of suitors. What I've learned in life and my experience is that there is somebody for everybody. Anything you see out here, let me back up. Any woman you see out here, there are men out there who are interested, guaranteed. I've never seen a woman who there were no men interested. Never, not one. Now, I've seen men who nobody was interested in. That's a different story. But women, I've never seen a woman who there was nobody interested. So 300 pounds, pretty face on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Guarantee you she got her DMs are popping, Chad Stir. I bet she gets more DMs than 99% of men with people interested. Doc said, lucky for us, the Vikings aren't on TV all that much. Well, they didn't have to be on TV for this to even become a story. I saw this on the NFL. On X. Esco Breezy, thanks for the follow. He got my lighter, said, we would agree long-term survival comes with change. Or it depends on what type of change we're talking. So what you just did there is you're conflating 2 different points. Nice try, but you got to do better than that. Yeah, so long-term survival might mean you get older. It means you adjust your game. Doesn't mean we're going to do every change has to happen just because to survive we got to change. So that means anything we say that is changed, we got to do it. No. Xavier Barry said, why are you wearing colored contacts? I'm not. Somebody asked me that. Like once a week, somebody asks this question. I do not wear colored contacts. My contacts are clear. I think the reflection of the light on the rim of the contact makes it look like that they might be blue, but my contacts are not colored. My eyes are brown, just in case anybody's wondering. Well, Heck said, fit, beautiful people are works of art, male or female. Yes, they are. That's why those works of art appear on the cover of magazines. Marky Man said, would rather have a dog and pony show. Let me see. I know I got a call coming up here today. What time is my call? All right, my call's at 11. So I'll take a few more comments and we'll wrap this up. Gotta go. Say you make too much sense. Well, thank you. He got my lighter, said, do things change whether we agree or not? That is grammatically incorrect sentence. I'm not sure what you're asking. Please rephrase the question in proper English. Ruthie Stevens said, if they want to include everyone, they make a separate team that is just men. Well, nobody wants to see that, so that's not going to work. Nobody wants to see a bunch of men cheerleaders doing pom-pom dances. That wouldn't work. That's why they got to integrate them with the women. Ocean Love said, this is perfect and so refreshing. Thank you. Jason Williams said, I think I was completed that day in the world of the NFL. What does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Chelsea said, flip side, maybe his audition was better than the girls he auditioned with. Maybe it was. I mean, the guy looks like From what I can see, I'm no connoisseur of cheerleading, but it looks like the guy can actually dance. At the same time, I would still uphold the principle that if any woman is uncomfortable, he ain't gonna be on the team. He can go dance somewhere else. He can go get a job dancing somewhere else. I'm sure he has another job besides being a cheerleader. Aaron Disc Golf said, "Why do you care? Curious how it would affect you at all in any way." So, didn't I already give y'all the example of this 3 times already here today when people do this? Well, it's not going to affect you in any way. Why do you care? Why are you talking about it? You're talking about this too much. Why are you focusing on this subject? Why are you obsessed with the subject? People use this as a way of undermining you and discrediting you, but trying to make it seem like you're doing something wrong by talking about a subject that they really don't want you to talk about. Aaron, my response to you is, on top of what I just said, that if I was talking about this in a way with which you agreed, you wouldn't be leaving that comment. So clearly you don't like the fact that I'm challenging the concept of a man being on the cheerleading squad. But if I was co-signing it and saying it's completely okay and everybody else needs to stop getting mad about it, you would be in here praising me. So that's why I'm pointing that out. So nice try, but try again. Doc said, "I blame the internet. Too much knowledge without wisdom causes most to change for the sake of good." I would blame it on more than the internet. I think people with pernicious ideas. 2 Pound Farms, we're talking about men cheerleaders on the carrying pom-poms in the NFL. London Bridget said, "I want qualified people to fight, men or women." Okay, London Bridget, let's say somebody's trying to come beat you up physically and you can't fight back. You want somebody to come help defend you. You want a man or a woman? You got to pick one. Which one you want? You want a man or a woman to come help defend you from somebody who's trying to beat you up? I'm pretty sure you would want a man. So miss me with the qualified men or women as if it's an equal amount of both. It's not. You put 50 women who are qualified to fight and 50 men who are qualified to fight in a fight to the death, there will be no women remaining. No women will survive that fight. So miss me with you're trying to frame it as if there's an equal amount or they're equal capabilities. They are not. Kuya said, "What happened to the LFL Women's Football League?" I don't know. I never saw it. Does it still exist? London Bridget said, "It's really a non-issue." Well, if it was a non-issue, why are you leaving comments? He got my lighter, said, "Just waiting on the straw man to show up." Yeah, we got a couple. Ocean Love said, "Brandon would care if his daughter was fired for a man, or she just missed out on the spot." Somebody missed out on the spot, unless they just added a spot. But it's only so long they can do that. Marky said, "When the captain holds up 2 girls and looks up, is the luckiest guy in the place." Okay, Marky, man, I get the high school locker room humor there. Yeah, I gave out a couple straw man awards. Thank you for the share. He got my lighter. A couple more comments here, folks. 2 Pound Farm said, "I don't think it was a woman that caused the fall of every empire men needed to take responsibility to." Well, empires fall is because men are not doing their jobs. I've always been solid on that. If a man falters because he listened to or allowed himself to be influenced by a woman, that is the fault of a man. It is a man's role to lead. It is a woman's role to support a man who is leading. So if a man falters and he blames the woman, it's still the man's fault. Because what are you doing letting a woman lead you off your course? I mean, did y'all read the book of Genesis? God put Adam in charge. He created Eve to be a support system to Adam. Eve got deceived by the serpent, Satan. Eve ate the apple. Eve told Adam, "Let's cover ourselves up." And when God realized what they had both done, first thing God did was address who? He didn't address Eve for messing up. He addressed Adam. "I put you in charge." He didn't address the woman. The woman did all. The woman is the one who messed up. Y'all read the book of Genesis. The woman messed up. God addressed the man. Why? Because the man is supposed to be in charge. I don't care what the woman did. You're supposed to be in charge. So if she messed up, you messed up. Because she's under your authority. She messed up. That means you didn't do your job. That's the way it works. So your comment, 2 Pound Farms, I agree with you. If an empire falls, even if a woman can be pointed to, it is still a man's fault because he allowed the woman to dictate his actions. That's a mistake by a man. Woman after God's heart said, "I love how intelligent you are." Well, thank you. Me too. 2 Pound said, "Hard to get your idea and grammar right in the space allowed to write." No, it's not. You just got to be more concise or use multiple comments. Woman after God's heart, thanks for joining the fan club and for the hearts. Renee, thanks for the heart. Joe, thanks for the follow. Kuya Ben, Oh, you're back. All right, a few more comments, folks. Finn said, not many people who love football pay attention to the cheerleaders. I don't know about that. I'm not sure that's true. I don't know how quantifiable that would be anyway. And even if somebody loves or doesn't love football, what does that have to do with the topic? If it's a current event and we want to talk about it, I talk about things that seem to be drawing a lot of attention. So whether somebody loves football, hates football, is it a current event? Is it a topic worthy of discussion? Yes, then we talk about it. So loving football is not one of the questions that are required for something to become a topic over here. Michelle, good morning to you. Thank you for the hand hearts. Corona Blue said they want to normalize men as women. Hope not. Schooly Scaloopy Doo says, why do conservatives feel like they get to tell other people how to live? Well, I'm not a conservative, so you're asking me a question about somebody else. So you should ask that person, whoever that conservative is that you're referring to. But let's just say you took the word conservative out. Why do people feel like they get to tell other people how to live? I don't think people get to tell other people how to live. I don't think people feel that way. What I think, to answer a more accurate form of your question, Shloopy-doo, is that people talk about how other people live because human beings have opinions. The same way that you are couching an opinion in your question right now. You're offering an opinion. And it depends on what type of living we're talking about. Because if somebody's doing something in their way of living, quote unquote, that I disagree with, and it's something that becomes let's say a news issue or a current event, and I decide I'm going to take some time on my live stream to talk about it, I have a right to do that. Why? Because I have free speech. That's protected by the First Amendment, the right to free speech and offer my opinion, whatever it may be, and whomever it may offend. So to answer your question is right there. The First Amendment is to answer your question. If I want to tell you how to live, doesn't mean you have to listen. Doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to follow what I said. But if I want to say it to you, I have a right to, because the First Amendment protects my right to offer my opinion, regardless of what it is and regardless of how you feel about it. Same way that you are allowed to offer your opinion to me, regardless of what it is and regardless of how I feel about it. Even if I decide to do nothing with it, I have a right to say it and you have a right to say it. So that answers your question right there. So you could take out conservatives, you could put liberals, you could put men, you could put women, you can put young people, you can put old people, you can put heteros, you can put homosexuals, you can put whatever group you want. Anyone can tell other people anything they want to tell them within earshot. Now, again, you don't have to like it, you don't have to listen, you don't have to follow, but I have a right to say it because the First Amendment protects that right. So hopefully that answers your question. Rubdak said, depends on which men and which women are fighting. No, it doesn't. Qualified men who know how to fight, and women who know how to fight. Put 50 men, 50 women together and say it's men against women. How many women are walking out of that room? The answer is 0. None of them are walking out of the room. Joe said football has a lot of pauses and some needed distractions. Yes, that's why they created cheerleaders. I get that, but we want women. The heck said, why do liberals think they can tell people how to think? Yes, exactly. Exactly. Night Owl said, I only watch football to look at the cheerleaders. Well, some people do. Divos the Floor said, the whole idea of cheerleaders is just for eye candy. People who cheer are called fans. That's right. It's called eye candy. Exactly. I said that earlier. I don't know if you were here when I said that. All right, Carla, I appreciate it. Thank you, as usual, for the support. The cheerleaders are eye candy. It's a diversion from the men. So you got a bunch of big men, big athletic men competing against each other physically. You bring the cheerleaders on as a change of pace from the men. So now let's look at some girls for 30 seconds. Now bring the men back and let's finish the competition. That's the whole point of cheerleading. That is the essence of what it's there for. So it's not just, anybody who can cheer. And there was someone who left a comment earlier that I didn't get to. So they were saying that cheerleading started as a male activity. And I said, even if it did, what does it have to do with what we're talking about now? And this person was correct. It started in the late 19th century, Princeton University. Men organized yells, quote unquote, to support the football team. And so what they did, according to what it says here, and when you put it in proper context, it makes perfect sense. So there were male students at the University of, it started at, where was this? Princeton University. Then what they started doing was organizing a cheer from the crowd. So what the woman was referring to is a woman in here who was kind of trolling my comments, trying to get attention. And she said, well, cheerleading started as a male thing. Well, it depends on what kind of cheerleading. Remember, cheerleading. So when you're watching the game, you cheer for the team. So the way it started is that early cheerleading was all male. So it would be a bunch of men in the crowd, and they would lead the crowd into certain cheers to support the team. That's not the same as having pom-poms and doing dances in a short skirt. So this is how people try to fool you with the nonsense. If you don't go get the context, they can easily fool you with these quote unquote facts taken out of context. That's why you got to be careful when someone gives you a fact, because they'll pull the context out, only tell you the fact that supports their argument, leave out the context that disproves the direction and the spirit of their point, and then you don't even realize that they hoodwinked you. So in the 1920s, women began participating, and they had a women cheer squad. World War II, a lot of men got drafted, so women started doing more of the cheerleading, and the activity became more associated with dance and gymnastics, shifting the perception towards a female-dominated activity. This sentence of context right here is exactly what cheerleading has become. World War II, the men would lead the cheers like yelling, like men yelling in unison is a normal thing. That is cheerleading, quote unquote, and where it started according to history. When men went off to war, World War II, women started doing the role, and that's when they shifted it to making more about dance and gymnastics, and the public perception became it's a female thing. When the men came home from the war, the women kept doing it because they had a new thing that they did. The men didn't fight to take it back, and now we have what we have here today. So that person who was commenting earlier saying, well, cheerleading started with men, technically it did, but when you remove the context, your point sounds like it makes sense, but with the context, it clearly does not. This is why y'all got to be very careful when people try to give you facts as a way of proving their point, because they will easily lie to you with facts. You can lie with facts. I just proved it to you. People do this all the time. Rubdeck said, once you said qualified, you proved my point. It does matter which men and women. No, it didn't prove your point. If a bunch of men are qualified to fight, meaning they've been fight trained, and a bunch of women are qualified to fight, they've been fight trained. You put 50 men and 50 women together, no woman is walking out of that room. And I say everybody's fighting until there's none of one group left. The men will walk out, the women will not. So no, it didn't prove your point. My heck said, I love these lives. Thank you. Joe said, diversion is more accurate than distraction. Okay, fair enough. Marky Man, appreciate it. So let me tell everybody where you can get a book of mine. The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This book is free. Just cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. This book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. The Third Day. My most popular book this week, book that's been moving the most this week, has been this book, The Mirror of Motivation, the self-guide to self-discipline. As you can see, this book is all about how do you become the person you need to be so you can do what you need to do to have what you want to have. That's why it's called The Mirror of Motivation. It's not about me motivating you. It's about me helping you with the framework to motivate yourself. And this book is 165 pages of all vignettes of how you get yourself activated to be the best version of you. You get this book by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. Mirrorofmotivation.com. The book's free. Cover the shipping. And get this one by going to thirddaybook.com. Third Day, spelled out, thirddaybook.com. Get this one free. Those of you who are more business-minded, sales discipline system, anybody who's in sales, 8 key disciplines of the top salespeople in any industry. So you can say goodbye to up and down months and inconsistent habits. Get this one at salesdisciplinebook.com. All these books are free. Just cover the shipping. We will ship you a physical copy of any one of these books. This is salesdisciplinebook.com, thirddaybook.com, mirrorofmotivation.com. And what else was I going to say to you all? I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this one, come back on Monday. If you didn't like it, come back on Monday anyway. If you're not quite sure if the jury is still out, come back on Monday. There's always a current event topic. We don't know what it will be. Donald Trump is a gift that keeps on giving, but sometimes we talk about other things like we did here today. But whatever I see that is trending that looks interesting is something that I have something to say on, then we'll talk about it. Just because it's trending doesn't mean I will talk about it, but it depends on what it is. I usually can find a good angle on pretty much any subject. My superpower is not any specific topic. My superpower, well, actually it is. It's discipline. That's why I got this book, Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. And you see the word discipline right here. And this book is about discipline, so there's a reason for that. But my ability to break down, explain, and articulate my opinions on subjects. That's what I like doing. And I like engaging with the commentary, whether you agree or disagree. I'm open to all of it. As long as you're respectful, I'm open to it. So I will see everybody Monday morning. That'll be what? Today's the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, August 18th, 2025, Monday morning, 8 a.m. I'll see all of you then. Everybody have a great weekend. Go get your copy of these free books, salesdisciplinebook.com, mirrormotivation.com, thirddaybook.com. Just click the link in my profile, by the way. Those of you on TikTok, there is a link there, workonyourgame.live. Go there, and it has a page with all the links to all these books, so you can pick the ones that you want. You get all of them if you want to. Actually, they're a sales funnel, so we'll offer you a bunch of books. Nobody reads just one book anyway. Don't come in and get one book. Get all the books. Nobody reads one book. So some said, I got audio. Yes. Every one of my books is in audio, by the way. So any of you wants to know, I should start saying that every day because people often ask me. Every book that I have is in audio. So there is an audio version of this. Same link. There's an audio version. This book, there's an audio version. This book is an audio version. All y'all just been listening to me talk for 2 hours. You think I wouldn't have audio versions of my books? Everything is in audio. So if you like listening to my voice, or it's not because you like listening to my voice, but you like books, but you don't have time to sit and actually read the book, you rather listen to an audio book, we got it. We got everything in audio. Everything's in digital. Everything's in physical. So go to the links that I just gave you. Get the audio version. Usually we call it the bonus version. So if you get the bonus version, we'll ship you the book. We'll give you the digital copy you can start reading right now while the book is in the mail. And we'll give you the audio book all at the same time. At the same damn time, we'll give you all of those. So go to the links that I just gave you. We got the same options for all of them. And get your books, plural. Get your books, plural. And I will see you all Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Also, you want to join my Power Presence Protocol program. Registration ends on Sunday. Power Presence Protocol is a program that I'm going to be teaching live. It teaches you the energy, the mindset, and the behaviors and the body language that causes people to notice you, respect you, follow you, and remember you, even if you don't say a single word. So Power Presence Protocol is not about doing what I just did for the last 2 hours talking. It's about how do you get people to respect your presence, notice you, and be willing to follow you, even if they never even hear you talk. That is about energy, is about unconscious conversation, is about internal and external posture. I'm teaching a whole program on that. You can get access to that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. workonyourgameuniversity.com/power. That's where you can sign up for that. Sunday is the last day to register. That program is starting on Tuesday. Again, that's Power Presence Protocol. And if you are on TikTok, just go to my Instagram, look at my Instagram story. I have links to that. So in case you can't remember that link, go to my Instagram story, click on my story, watch the story. You'll see me talking about it a bunch of times. I'll be talking about it a lot between now and Sunday to get people registered. And then that's starting next Tuesday. So I gave you a lot of things to do here. I will see everybody on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you to all the supporters, the people who have liked, the people who disagreed, the commentators, everybody, the moderators for keeping the comment section from getting out of hand. I will see everybody on Monday. I got a call coming up in about 40 minutes. I need to eat lunch first. Everybody have a great Friday, great weekend. We out of here. Work on your game.